How's it going, everyone? I'm Honan.
I'm Oliver.
And today, after covering in our artist deep dives two absolute queens before, even a goddess, we must now talk about a king. And that's King Taeyeon.
Yes.
And for anyone not on
Well,
the ins, I guess you can explain.
yeah. Well, it's not that complicated. Her name is Kim Taeyeon, right? And it sounds like king. And I think back in the early days of SNSD, they were always called like princesses or queens or whatever,
Yeah.
justifiably so. Uh, and she was like, "No, I always preferred I don't really like being called princess. I think I'd rather be called something else." So the fans were kind of like, "Okay, we'll call you king." And it just kind of became a thing ever since. She's also been like Kid Taeyeon as well, which is another
Yeah, I
because
saw
she's
things that said
yeah
kid leader Taeyeon and stuff.
yeah
It's like I don't have that view of her because she's like this stunning 33-year-old woman now. So it's
yeah.
like,
I think when you see her with the other members, she's like really because she's so small and
yeah,
like her mannerisms and stuff kind of are quite different, quite like childlike, I guess, in a weird, not weird way.
yeah. So the main thing here is to give everyone kind of a general idea. We're gonna cover Taeyeon's like early life and her solo career and kind of things that helped her become the solo artist that she is. If we talked about Sonia Shide in here, it would be like a 9 hour episode.
Yeah, like let's do their own episode at some
Yes,
point.
they have so much of their own to cover. Like
Yeah,
it would be too much to include it into here.
yeah, but normally at the start of these episodes or like the episodes in general, I do like a news bulletin, and I'm not going to do that today because we'll be spending a good amount of time talking about this. But there's something extremely important that's just happened that I need to now mention, and it's that Sung from Superkind is involved in a dating controversy with Zaina from Maeve, which is earth-shattering and it's going to change the industry forever. This is the first virtual idol dating scandal that there has ever been.
Oh my god.
As clearly Sung has been watching TikToks of Zena, especially from Maven. She seems to have caught his interest, and his fans are not happy about it.
No.
So we're gonna keep
Soon
an eye on this
someone will
story.
be dating what is it? The novice?
Oh yeah, Navis is waiting for it really. So it's only a matter of time before she's dating Kai.
Okay. Let's
Anyway,
let's
moving
start.
on.
I guess you have to start on March 9th, 1989. You want to say the name of the place?
In Donzu, in North Dollar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pronunciation was so bad that I wasn't gonna murder Taeyong's.
Janju and North
Sure,
Dollar.
yeah, North Jeolla, Jeonju. And
Yeah.
the earliest kind of thing I could find to talk about with Taeyeon was her dad would be kind of recognized her vocal talent but wasn't really like pushing her to be a singer. In fact, he didn't seem interested in like trying to make her a singer at all, but he did, being the great dad he was, always take her to her vocal lessons.
Mm,
And he took her to like what was a academy, essentially. The from what it looked like, it was an SM vocal academy
okay.
of some sort, or maybe it wasn't even related to SM at first, but the principal there basically was the one telling her dad like, hey, like, holy shit, she can sing. Like, you need
This
to
girl's
take
got some
this,
pipes on her.
you need to take this like serious. Like, I understand you aren't trying to push your kid to be in entertainment or anything, but she has an incredible voice.
Right.
And luckily enough for everyone else, he did keep taking her back and forth to those vocal lessons, and we, thanks to that, have who is Taeyeon still being interested in singing today, because I'm not sure if her dad kind of just wrote it off and maybe stopped or something, we may not have had Taeyeon that we know today.
Right. Well, yeah. So 'cause, I mean, I feel like in the both of the stories that we talked about in our deep dives before with IU and with Sunmi that they didn't have that presence from their father, right? Like it was, oh,
Yeah.
I guess Sunmi did. But obviously, she lost her father when she was just kind of starting out in her career. Whereas Taeyeon, obviously, her father passed away a couple of years ago. Um, So yeah, it's obviously it's great when you hear something that happens that organically. You
Yeah.
know, like you so often you kind of get the idea of like a pushy parent who's trying to live like vicariously through their kid or whatever and forcing them into doing something that they don't want to do. And Taeyeon's always said like, "Oh, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them to be singers, or I wouldn't want them
Yeah.
to be idols."
Well,
Which made me think that she didn't like that experience growing up. But I don't know.
it was SM Academy. I have it written here. It was second year of middle school. Her father started
Okay,
accompanying her to SM Academy for vocal lessons, and it was the principal persuaded her father to give her a chance in the entertainment industry, even though he didn't really have an interest in his daughter doing that.
right.
And then he accompanied her there to Seoul every Sunday to receive vocal lessons from the one for 3 years. For 3 years, this man did that, so that's
Wow.
pretty crazy. Like every Sunday, he's like, "All right, let's go get your vocal
Uh,
lessons."
and Sunsu to Seoul is like not a an inconsiderable distance.
Yeah,
Like Jola is kind of in the like not quite the full like bottom left of the country, but like a little bit above that, and Seoul's
yeah,
like right at the top. So it's like we're talking a good. I imagine what would have been a couple hours on the bus, but I don't think they would have been getting the train at that point.
yeah. I didn't look too much into what her parents did for work or anything like that, but I imagine so. Every Sunday's usually a rest day for most people from the work week, so I imagine on some of his days off he's just every Sunday traveling back and forth to the
Yeah,
city with her. And
yeah.
then
I
what
mean, yeah, it's good to hear.
an interesting thing that I also had written here when she was first entered into the academy and named her like pre-debut influences, they were Boa, obviously, Whitney Houston, and Hikaru Utada.
Ah, yes. She famous Japanese singer, very
Super famous
famous.
Japanese singer. Okay.
Yeah. She's super big. I just had a quick look and saw that Taeyeon's parents apparently owned an optical shop. Apparently, I'm guessing some kind of like opticians is what is meant by that.
That's interesting. That's like
Um,
that seemed like something you'd have to train to be a profession in. Like,
you would imagine,
yeah,
though.
you would hope so.
I mean, it could also have meant like a stall in a market that sells glasses. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
But then also, there's something saying that her father became a hotel manager, which obviously is quite a good job. So I don't know. There's not much clear information about it.
as I was like reading about Taeyeon's early like life career, so much of it is built around Sonya Shide, so I have to like kind of gloss over so much of that.
Right.
But her like actual as Taeyeon herself, featuring with like other people, a lot of the early stuff is featuring obviously at first for her. So the first thing I could find that she featured with the one in a song called "Like a Star," which was like it reached number one on the Gaon Digital chart. So quite early, even like it's very early into Sonya Shide, she's already getting like number one things on the Gaon chart. It's just featuring other artists and
Right.
things like that.
That was in like when was that? Like 2011 or something like that.
Yeah, it's super early. Like when she did I have 2012 written here for a lot of the featuring things that she was first
Okay.
appearing in.
So like super early into SNSD, but like certainly like quite early in terms of making a solo splash.
Yeah, and
In,
I didn't know the
yeah.
one very well, but he's like pretty legendary in his
Oh
own
yeah.
right when I was reading about him.
I mean, with a name like the One,
Yeah, yeah.
you've got to have a degree a degree of confidence in your ability.
Like what I had written for his life was he was in the group Space A, which
Uh-huh.
I've never really seen, but he trained a lot of he trained Super Junior, he trained other Girls' Generation members. It said he was huge kind of in the early formation of the second gen of SM essentially.
Yeah.
He was their like vocal teacher across the board. Which fair enough to him. Like he trained some like major players in K-pop industry. So as far as I could find, he trained some Shiny as well. When I was reading,
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that the kind of the big vocalists of SM he would have had something to do with the Yeah.
The Like a Star song, it looks like I had some things written here as well for An Yeon Min was the composer, and her quote was, at the time she didn't really know Taeyeon because it wasn't obviously a legend there yet. You know, it was like nothing had happened really. I was surprised at how well Taeyeon could sing. This is a rather like mature song that I gave her at such a young age, and I would be lying if I didn't have my doubts, but she absolutely blew me away, and I was moved to tears listening to her vocal performance, was the quote from the
Yeah.
composer. Which, fair enough, the first time I imagine you hear that voice at such a young age, just like that power, you're probably just like, God. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of almost impossible to think like what your reaction would be as an industry professional to like hearing Taeyeon for the first time.
yeah.
You know, like how would you even deal with that?
It's one of those voices, like, because very early I knew about Girls' Generation, even before doing K-pop React videos. But that was like the only group I knew anything about. But the way Taeyeon's voice is used, there's just those like power notes in the boys and things like that every now and then was what I knew of it.
Yeah, right. It stands out so much. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not like other singers aren't also doing those kinds of notes in their songs. It's just there's something about like Taeyeon's like texture and
Yeah.
everything that just it stands out so much.
She's one of those vocalists just like Solgi, like the first time I started hearing just her voice on its own and kind of that like texture to it that it has, you're like, oh god, like this is like so much
Right.
more than just being like in an idol group or something, you know, like this is just like when you talk about like a true vocalist, that's it's just one of those voices, like
Yeah. I guess that's why like her early albums were all called like Voice and My Voice
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I
She
guess that's how she's always been known, right? Like she's always just been attached to her vocal cords. Maybe to a point of kind of not giving her the person enough credit, but
she's one of those rare cases though where like the voice and the person are as stunning as like both, you know, like sometimes like the true blue vocalist maybe couldn't be considered like the visual of their group or something like that, and I know Yuna's the visual of Girls' Generation, but like Taeyeon to me is just as much a visual of that group.
she's not bad looking, yeah.
Yeah. Although I've said way too many times that Mion is the most talented visual in K-pop to like start retracting that statement.
And let's not forget about the new nation's visual.
Oh yes, Chase Soul is
Yeah,
the nation's visual at the moment, so yeah, we can't forget about that.
yeah,
Not to gloss too quickly to her like later solo career, which starts in 2015, she had a
yeah.
lot of featurings during her time in Girls' Generation.
Yeah, I seem to remember her like early years as a soloist. She was just kind of cranking out like OSTs and like random collabs with people,
Yeah.
just and like killing it. Like in the way that like when we were talking about IU, like how some of her most successful early songs were OSTs, and that was true for Taeyeon as well.
So I have a lot of that stuff written here. She recorded "If" for a KBS drama in 2008, and "Can You Hear Me"
Mm.
for NBC's drama Beethoven Virus. And the song "If" that she recorded in 2008 was actually considered more popular than the drama, so it maintained popularity, and the drama kind of
Yeah,
like fell
I,
off after.
yeah. If was huge. I think if is still like one of her more like popular songs. I think if you went to like top like Taeyeon songs at Noraebang or whatever, I think if would be one of the highest ones.
It's interesting so early in a career just doing a featuring like OST, and then that's like one of your like long lasting hits or whatever. Like
I mean, it's a great sign, isn't it? You know, like
yeah.
if especially if a soundtrack can, because usually you don't really think of soundtracks as having that much like longevity. Like once the memory of the show or movie or whatever has died down, it's like, well, the connection isn't there, so people don't rarely go out of their way to listen to them. But in Korea, that's not really true. And but there's so many OSTs, like so many dramas all the time. It's like if one can be a huge hit, then you've done really well. and she's had many.
Yeah.
To the point that nowadays it's like, oh, if Taeyeon's on the OST, it's going to be a heater. Like,
We'll talk about one later when we have our Spotify list up that will always be as memorable to me as the show that I watched. So it's like she just has that voice that hits in anything that she's in.
yeah. But that one's like 2008 is way before even like when she was starting to drop like the other songs that we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a decent gap between like her and the one having that song together.
yeah,
And
that's fully like almost right after Girls' Generation
it's a
debuts.
4-year gap, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
It's 1 year after debut, and then 4 years.
yeah,
between the
07
songs.
is the Sony Shide debut, so like this is barely into her fame at all when she's releasing this.
Yeah, and like 2008 was not a great year for Girls' Generation, so it's interesting that Taeyeon had like a personal moment of success outside of that.
Yeah, all the things that she kind of had mindset wise with Sonya Shide, like we said, we'll have a Sonya Shide episode where we'll go into all that stuff. But there's so much.
Yeah,
There's just so much. What's interesting, and I never knew this until we started researching, was that she had a theatrical like debut lead role in a 2010 musical, A Song to the Sun. And I never knew Taeyeon even acted. So like
yeah, it's not something you think of, right?
no.
Like I think the only time I've ever seen Taeyeon acting is in The Producers when she has like a cameo and she's like playing herself.
Yeah.
So it's not really, the same.
She played a Japanese character, it looks like Kaoru Amane, a teenager who suffered from Eroderma pigmentosum and learned to play guitar for the role.
Okay.
When I researched what that was, it was
Wearing a skin changes color.
it was something interesting. It wasn't anything they played too much into the role. She very subtly kind of had this. But what she said about playing the role was that the musical had an unfavorable response, but her acting had a favorable response in it and was praised.
Interesting.
So
Because like singing in a musical is a very different style that you need, right? Like the technique you need to use is often different, right? Like
yes.
and just the style of songs are usually different as well. It's certainly a more unique skill set and not something that every or any like idol singer can do. But it's interesting to hear that her acting was praised because then she's unlike other members in her group who've gone into do a crap load of acting. She hasn't. So
interestingly enough, I thought maybe because even though she had a favorable response for her acting skills, I thought maybe because it didn't do well what she was in, that she might have just been like, oh well, this isn't for me. But when she described it, she said, not even really talking about acting, she said musicals are difficult, stating that her weak concentration made it very hard for her to act and sing at the same time, and that's why she didn't want to do it again, essentially.
Right.
But that's musical, so I wonder why I couldn't find anything that really said why she just didn't act in general. But I guess she's just kind of like, music's my thing,
Yeah, I mean, it's your passion is your passion, right? You don't have to do dramas if you're an idol. It's not mandatory.
No. About that thing she was supposed to have, the character, it was a hereditary condition characterized by extreme sun sensitivity leading to very high risk of cancer and other medical problems. So they're just super sensitive to ultraviolet.
Very weak skin.
Yeah. Okay. Which, fair enough. I guess she just hides away as the character, like pale, like kind of like.
Yeah. She's very, very suited to that.
Yeah. I would love to see Taeyeon do like a drama. Because now that I hear that people thought her acting was actually good, like I would love to see her in like a legit show. But I would prefer to have another Taeyeon album, like more than that.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if she ever does decide to do that. Maybe at some point someone's just going to be like, I have a role that I've written like for Taeyeon, and I want her in it. Maybe see if that.
I used taking all those acting gigs though. That's the thing. It's like,
Well, imagine the two of them in a drama
oh
together.
god, don't do that to me. Where do you look? Your eyes just burn out of your skull when you're watching
Yeah,
that.
you have to figure out how to get a lazy eye so you can look at them both simultaneously.
I guess we should just there's so many random featuring things, and a lot of them did well on Gaon charts, some featuring even like top 5 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's and in the training process, if we still kind of finish off of that, she won the first place in their youth competition, and that was in like 2004.
Mm-hmm.
2004, she won their youth competition, and the training, she said she almost quit the training process at one point, that it was so tough for her.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone who went through that would have considered quitting at some point.
But winning that was what got her signed, essentially. They were like, okay, wow, she's amazing. Signed her to a contract right away to SM Entertainment from that.
In 2004.
Yes. In that same year, a lot of things happened. So actually the very first feature I could find is 2004. She featured in the one song, You Bring Me Joy. So 2004, she featured pre-debut. She featured like before even being like fully signed, it looks like.
I mean, that does happen, right? Like we know, like Rose featuring on like G-Dragon songs and stuff like before that debut and stuff.
Jenny being in random videos for like YG artists.
Yeah, it happens. I think I do remember hearing that at some point, that when she was like super young.
That gives you an idea of her talent, that even before being fully like in the company, the vocal teacher's like, I want you to sing on my song.
But before even before you're like at age 15, before your vocal cords are fully like finished developing, you know, like you haven't finished physically growing at that point, and like that affects your voice. So I mean, I have to give a lot of props to the one that he like was like, no, this girl is something special, and I want to give her I want people to know her name early, because she's gonna be something.
It's pretty incredible. Like recognizing that talent, I feel like, is just like the moment you hear someone who can sing like that, you're just like, oh, okay, like
Right.
There's some people like you're like, I can work on this with them or something. Taeyeon's just like a true like natural voice where you're just like, oh god, like what?
my kids preparing for their graduation, we have to sing a song. We are the children. Yesterday's dream. Yeah, we got to sing that. So I'm there like, I'm like 1 star in Girls Planet. I'm there like, I'm trying to hear if there's anyone there who has like a decent sounding voice, but so far we're struggling to get everyone like singing the right notes.
You did like your best Baejin Yun face from like the practices during like Produce, where you're like just scowling the whole time.
Bae Yoon-jung.
Bae Yoon-jung, sorry, my bad.
He's in a different Produce. Yeah.
The last kind of interesting fact before we start completely into her solo career starting in 2015 is that she graduated Jeonju Art High School and was awarded the school's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2008. This is like 1 year into
how much Lifetime of an Achievement have you got? And they were like, in 2018, they were like, shit, man, we're going to need to make another award.
Like 1 year into Sonia Shide, they're like, look at that. Like, you know, or whatever. They're like, there's Lifetime Achievement Award.
I mean, it's a pretty like decently sized city now, I suppose. But maybe back then it was still in its early stages of growth, and or earlier stages. Maybe they hadn't seen anyone that had made a big impact at that point. If I don't know what her school was like, but if it was like a smaller school, maybe they just didn't have any famous alumni, and they were like,
I didn't look into the school, but it's an arts high school, and I feel like those schools are generally pretty fancy, pretty nice, like.
Yeah, but normally, if you go to like the art schools you hear of are all the ones in Seoul, right? Like, the ones outside are a bit, you don't hear so much from.
Should we do it? We got to get into there's a lot of history we're skipping, but it's Sonia Shade history, and we will give you guys kind of a glance of that on its own at some point.
Okay. Let's
So
do it
we
then.
if we start with Taeyeon's true solo career, like this is Taeyeon, I'm the artist. Taeyeon starting. It's 2015. The IEP comes out,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember kind of like I didn't react to this until kind of late, I guess, because if you think about it, our React channel started with like do 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 do. So
Yeah.
this is rather
Yeah.
late
And
when I checked
that's
this out.
interesting to think about, actually.
Yeah, but right away, obviously, I was just like, holy shit, this is an incredible vocalist. Like,
Right.
you know.
I think I is like an interesting way of introducing Taeyeon to someone, because it's like, especially with the video, because it's like she's so blonde in it. And she's like it's filmed in New Zealand, which was always an appeal to me. So she's like in these like verdant green fields,
Yeah.
and she's like hella blonde. And it's just like, who is this like German woman
She
that's
looks like an elf that like stepped out
yeah,
of like
it's like woodland
like,
creature.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's and then the song, to me, the song always gave me very like, I was always like, oh, she's like a Korean Taylor Swift.
I
And
can kind of see that.
I mean that in a very complimentary way. I should point out, but just kind of like the style that it gave, because it was like that kind of
Singer songwriter like style to
singer
it.
songwriter, like kind of like country esque element to it.
Yeah, it does have
Like,
that very soft acoustic, just kind of
yeah,
constantly playing through and stuff.
but it also then of course has the feature from Verbal Jin, who's like one of the most influential pioneering figures in all of Korean hip hop. So, and it actually works in the song better than you'd think, given like the general like vibe of the song, like having a rap feature in it.
Yeah.
Like, it actually works quite well. But it's an interesting like
For me, when I
pairing.
checked it out, it was like truly separated the two entities for me, the leader of Girls' Generation and the artist. Like I've talked about this before, we both
Yeah,
have, where there's two separate Taeyons. There's the girl group idol Taeyeon, and there's like the true like singer artist Taeyeon, and they really
yeah,
are different. Like I don't think there's probably a lot of people we've said that have like that are Taeyeon fans that don't even listen to Sonia Shade
yeah.
because the music is
Especially
not the same. Like,
especially in Korea.
yeah,
And I think you can look at a song like I and say, well, this is a song that the Girls' Generation would never make.
for sure.
Like, so it's certainly so yeah. I mean, I think that, I mean, the title and everything really just, it's a moment of Taeyeon's own expression. It's very, very fitting. But I will say it's not my favorite one of her songs. It certainly does have that like that place in that place that's worthy of mentioning, because of it, like it, just signifies that change for her. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not one of my all-time favorites of hers, but I do recognize kind of how good of a debut that is as a solo artist,
right,
and it did do very well.
yeah,
Like
I
very
think
very well.
extremely well.
Like,
Yeah,
and that's the thing when I was looking at Taeyeon's physical sales and stuff. Like the I physical sales I found was 120,000.
for 2015, that's like
Yeah.
crazy good. Yeah,
Yes, and her
yeah,
digital sales, I couldn't find anything to dispute this, but like overall, her digital sales are like 20 million. So
yeah,
we're talking about just an icon here, like
yeah,
this is
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Those are
But
numbers that are just insane, like
yeah, I think she signified right from the start that like it was not just going to be like, I guess it's just so hard to separate from Girls' Generation, right? But after all of what Girls' Generation went through in 2014, with Jessica leaving and everything like that, people going, oh, maybe SNSD on the ropes, maybe like they're not gonna, they might, disband or whatever. And then Taeyeon comes out and drops his solo album, and it's like, well, actually, she has a whole other career that's just getting started in terms of being a solo artist, regardless of what might happen with the Girls'
It's
Generation.
for me it's so hard to imagine it because as I actually got into K-pop, Taeyeon's such a strong presence already
Yeah,
to be there before she has such like an illustrious solo career, you know? Like to imagine that there was a time Taeyeon was just like this considered a leader of a group that was on like its final embers kind of
right.
at one point, which is funny now seeing Girls' Generation still going like dropping Forever
Yeah,
One and being legends still, you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's yeah, it's weird to
And
think about that.
I think that the longevity of that song is certainly still like viable as well, because like there's so many hit songs from so many artists, right? That and inevitably some do just kind of get lost or forgotten. But I still gets play, it still gets attention. Like, I mean, I have students who were born after it was released who like will sing it. Like it's had a very lasting impact.
Yeah, the Taeyeon to me has this like IU like presence in like and which is crazy to think about because she's also has the presence that she has as being the leader of one of the most iconic girl groups. She has these two separate presences in like the
Mm,
music industry that are like not related to each other in a sense. Um and it's like how do you just like if you were doing it in the sense of like Hall of Fame or something, she has two Hall of Fame careers. Like it's
yeah,
kind of
basically.
crazy to think about that. Like two
Yeah.
separate Hall of Fames. Like,
There aren't many. I mean, like you can you can point to plenty of idols in groups that have had good solo careers, but in terms of just like the like culture defining impact that Taeyeon's had, there's not many others that I can think of who've done both, right? Who've had like the legendary group status and also the legendary solo career,
yeah.
and keeping the longevity of it, not just one or two hits, but like have kept going. I can't really think of many who are on that kind of level, really.
No, she really stands out, particularly when we talk about idols going solo. Like it's like kind of the top there, like sitting there on the peak.
Yeah,
With that EP specifically to kind of conclude on it, as I like researched through like each album in order as I was writing them down, there's like an endless amount of idol covers of like this song and
oh
like
yeah,
and of idols like talking about their love of the song and their love of Taeyeon and like stuff
yeah.
like it's so much.
That's what I mean, right? When I talk about like like culture defining, I mean obviously within like the K-pop culture, like Taeyeon is an artist who influences others to want to be idols. Like she's a reason that people who are in groups now, they grew up. I know that it sounds so strange, but you have to remember how young people in these groups are. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they were like 12 or 13 when I came out, and now they're like math 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like um and then it's like that when you're a middle schooler or whatever, you're like, oh man, I want to be a singer because look at this gorgeous woman singing so beautifully, like I want to do that. Like, and she was that person for so many people.
Surprisingly, to have a specific case of it, their Mumbyul was on like Amazing
Mm.
Saturday
Maybe
and
was a huge Taeyeon
moved to
fan.
tears from meeting
Yeah,
Taeyeon. Like she
yeah,
was
yeah,
literally like so happy that she was sitting next to Taeyeon and like described that she would cover like Girls' Generation stuff early in training and Taeyeon was like this like idol to her, you know, at that time, the one that she wanted to be, like the true singer that she like loved at that time. So it's so weird to see someone who is also like really recognized in like an
right.
industry talking about Taeyeon as this like
Well,
God, as
of
this
course it
figure.
was. I mean, Moonball obviously debuted before Taeyeon's even solo debut happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's like she was there from before, like she was just from the previous impact. But like I mean, I found a list of idols who have said that Taeyeon is their role model. So I'll just read these names because like some of you'll just be like, oh, okay, fair enough. So Heejin from Luna,
Yeah.
Sejong from formerly of Gugaden, Chaewon, formerly of Iceland, currently of Le Seraphim, Uki from Idol, Jie, formerly of Lovelies, Luda from WJSN, Lucy from Ricky Mickey, Unwoo from formerly of Hinapia, Juan, formerly of Daya, Sion of Rocket Punch, Ari, formerly of Red Square, now of Iris, Chaesol of Signature,
Let's go, Chaseol.
Lara of Dream Note, Terry of Neon Punch, all right, and Monday from Weekly. So like a
Which,
pretty eclectic selection, but
how
you can
young
see
some of those
how much
idols
that
are just like
people
shows her staying power too. Like
right.
that's like it's not like a bunch of idols from her gen or something, you know,
Well, but
like
there's a range, right? Because
yeah.
like GA is like 29 or 30, and like I think the youngest one of that, I don't know who the youngest one of that would be, but probably like maybe CN, I guess. I'm not sure. But like we're talking like almost like a 10-year range or whatever of people
Yeah.
who are in addition to the ones that you mentioned as well, like Minbyul. It's yeah, her impact is you saw on Queendom when she walked in as the MC, right? Everyone
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh shit!"
I mean, you had Hyolyn, who in her right is a
Right,
very legendary idol, instead just like going like fangirling over Taeyeon
right.
walking
But
in the room.
like, yeah, because everyone had just finished like freaking out over Hyolyn being
Yeah.
right, and then Taeyeon comes in. Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing to see like Hyolyn rightfully is second gen as well, and like to be reacting that way to someone from your own who's like your contemporary, I guess you'd say, like in that
yeah,
time,
in a
and to
way.
just be like, oh my god, like when you see
Yeah,
them, you know, like
I
it's
guess
just
in a way, it's like Hyolyn is maybe a good example of someone you could make some comparisons to because it's like Hyolyn obviously has a great voice, undoubtedly. Certainly a distinctive voice because I think when you listen, you can
yeah,
tell
the
her
husky
voice
tone is like
clearly.
really unique to
Yeah.
her. Yeah,
She had a group that was successful and had left and had she didn't. This is the difference that she didn't leave the group to do a solo career. She Hyolyn left the group to do a solo career. Obviously, Taeyeon didn't. Um, and Hyolyn had some success, but like the different like the levels is like so pronounced, right? Like
yeah,
and how just Taeyeon has just kind of stayed on top and even gotten better. I mean, obviously, like you look at the inflation of sales and stuff, like over the industry as a whole, but it's like Taeyeon hasn't really had any like real stinkers
well, yeah,
that have like done badly.
2022 is massive for her sales to talk about how she's just grown and gotten better and better.
Yeah.
Interestingly, when we get to it, I'll talk about what the best sales year is. When to move on, I guess I hope I don't mess any of this up because I really like put these in order like I could, but there's like 8 years of like a shit ton of stuff
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Taeyeon did, so I probably missed something, so I'm sorry if I did. But for in 2016 is kind of when she then drops another mini album on June 2nd or June 28th. I'm sorry, June 28th of 2016. She drops Y, the second mini album.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an even bigger year for her. She goes up in sales another chunk. So it's like 134,000 physical sales that I found for this
Yeah.
second mini album. Although I couldn't confirm if the 134,000 was between this mini album and her dropping 1111, because she dropped 1111 as like its own thing later in November.
I wouldn't. I don't think it would be combined. They would probably have separate.
There,
Should have separate
yeah, it
information.
should have separated them, but it just put like as her chunk of 2016, she sold 134,000 physical copies.
Right. So like yeah, I mean even like if that is the combined of the two of them, like 134,000, like that those kinds of sales is like
Oh, I have it
super
here
good
actually.
effect.
1111 sold 1.4 million copies.
Jeez.
Yeah, and it was number 2 on Guion Digital chart.
Wow.
For quite a time, it says. That's like so that year's pretty big gap from
Yeah.
for her there, like
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
It's like that's
Wait, is that right?
I
Is that not digitals? I feel
I
like
think
it would
that's
be.
including digitals, not
Yeah,
physicals.
it must. Yeah, yeah. There's no way that that's just
I think it has
physical.
to be digitals because if it was physicals, then the number one on guy on digital chart would have just been like the whole year, Taeyeon, just like riding that wave. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Sales 2.5 million. It must be.
yeah, the sales figures when I kept researching them are really confusing because there's the
It mixes
physical
the
and
both.
the
Yeah,
digital, and sometimes it combines them, and then it's like, well, I need these like specifically
yeah, yeah.
separated.
I was gonna say. I didn't think that there was a physical release for 1111. I
No,
don't.
it was just its own
Yeah,
like
it's a digital single,
it's
so
a digital single.
it's all
Yeah.
digital. Yeah.
So that's all digital sales, 1.4
So,
million, right?
yeah, yeah. So then the 130,000 whatever is
It's her
purely the
physical.
physical sales
That's
from
just
Y.
insane because that's a big gap. So she's gained like at least 20,000 essentially on her next album sale. So it's a big
Yeah,
gap she's already jumped to there from releasing the second mini album, just riding the wave of how good I was as a release.
yeah. Um, I think it's pretty comparable to who would have been well, for like so Twice's album with Cheer Up on it, for example, page two, by that sold 150,000 in 2016. So
Oh,
like
okay.
similar levels are up
As
to like
a huge girl group rising to its like highest levels there from
for
the
whom generally speaking there's going to be a higher propensity for sales.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, when I looked through like why the second mini album and then listened to 1111 again, 1111 is like something I remember more than the Y album
Yeah,
personally
yeah.
because it's like one of
I
her
think so.
major like hits to me, like like
Yeah.
and I don't really I know physical sales is a big thing and important to people. But like to
Hmm.
me, I'm like more impressed at 1.4 million digital like
or
sales to
or 2.5
100.
million.
Well, now I think in the year overall, what is
Yeah, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
um
Yeah.
to 134,000 physical sales. I understand that physical is a really important factor of your sales, but like 1.4 million digital is nothing to like
No, it's
scoff at,
nothing
Like,
to scoff at at all, no. Um yeah, I think why it's more I don't know. I'm trying to think of of 2016. Like 2016 through like 2018 was very much the kind of tropical house trend in
yes.
K-pop, right? And Y was kind of part of that, And it's never my
No,
favorite style.
interestingly enough, as I was going through all of her early career, I realized it's kind of the middle latter half where it's like, oh, like that really hits for me
Yeah,
personally. As I was like, and going through like the Y album, it was the second mini album. I think funny enough, when I went through it, Y wasn't my favorite song on it, but it was Starlight featuring Dean. And that I
mm,
actually liked the best out of all of
yeah,
it. She had a Hyo feature up and down on it as well.
yes, yes, yes. I remember.
It was a decent sized mini album because it had 7 songs, which for some would be like a full album release these days in like K-pop. That's I wouldn't even consider that a mini album sometimes compared to some of the mini albums we see now, which are just like 4 songs or something like that you'll see every
Yeah,
now and then. But yeah,
yeah.
why to me isn't like one of hers where I'm like that's like
I,
the
I need to
pinnacle.
re-listen to that album. It's been a while since I listened to it.
Yeah,
Um,
driving I listened to all of them, and
it's
as
loads
I
of
went
London noise
as
all
I
over
went
that
through
album.
that year, 1111 was much like a lot like memorable to me compared to the
Yeah,
Y album.
yeah.
So if we move on from there, she was like the consistency of releases is pretty gnarly to see at first because it's just boom each year, like cycling out some big songs. 2017 on February 28th. She likes the 28th because it was June 28th for Y, and now it's February 28th for My Voice first full length album comes out, which Fine would have been the like title track of that at the time.
Fine.
Yes.
That was a big tune.
This is a big one.
Yeah.
So let me give you
Give me the stats.
Yeah, some stats here. 2017, when I looked for physical sales, it was like 301,000. So this was a big jump like that we had here from the first two mini albums to her releasing a first full length album. But let me just let you know that in 2017 is a huge year, not just because of her first album releasing, but because we also get Winter is Coming, the special album from her. So it's like we get kind of two big solid releases from Taeyeon in the same year.
Yeah, that's a big one, like the deluxe version with all the extra songs and stuff on it. Yeah.
I did not look digital sales specifically for these years. I did all physical at first for most of them, but I imagine digital sales for Fine was probably really good. Like that was a big song of hers.
I forget when exactly, but Gaon stopped charting like digitals after. I think around 2016 they stopped doing it. I don't know exactly when the cutoff was. It was around that point. So yeah, that's probably why. If you don't see them, then that's why.
Okay, so that makes sense why I wasn't seeing like the two stats for it.
Yeah.
To me, 301,000 physical sales. That's
nuts.
That's such an like the jump from 134,000 the previous year to 301,000. Like if you're SM Entertainment, that's when you're like, wait a minute. When you look at that, like what happened? What was the change? Like.
Yeah, and you can say like, oh, this is like just because album sale inflation is a thing that's happening that we all know about. But like I think that from 2016 to 2017, that's an increase that is exceeding what you would expect just a general increase at the time to be like.
Listening to the difference from 2015 to 2017 and you listening to Fine, I think the main difference to me why she probably had such a big gap of sales all of a sudden was because Fine to me is like more upbeat and more of a pop song. And then it has this super hook, like it's my fine. It's like so catchy where you're just like
it's kind of like the next part of I, it's kind of like goes, it's like the similar kind of vibe and just takes it to like the next level.
Yeah. It's got the pop feel to it way more than the previous ones to me though. Whereas like the previous ones where we said it had like kind of that singer songwriter touch to them, this is feels like a pop mega hit comes out, like
yeah.
It's interesting to see that change just in like 3 years of being a solo artist or 2 years, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think for like perspective, if you can think of what was probably one of the biggest songs of 2017 in terms of like being a pop hit, a smash hit, in Red Velvet's Red Flavor, I think that album sold like 60,000.
Wow. Digital for that had to be massive though.
No, of course,
Flavor. For Red Flavor, digital had to be crazy.
True for both of them though, right?
Yeah. True for both, without a doubt. There was like something, you maybe could confirm this for me. During some of this time, this was kind of her time when she's getting pretty successful in awards shows and things like that. And she was doing rather well. Overall, when I looked at her awards, it said 6 Golden Discs, 6 Soul Music Awards, 4 Gaon Chart Music Awards, 3 Melon Musics, 4 Mnet.
Are they Bonsangs or Daesangs?
That's a good point. I should have definitely separated that.
I'll check.
But the fact, even in general, she was definitely just doing really good
Yeah,
at the award shows around these kind of times of releasing these.
yeah. She's done all right, and I mean, her like nominations and awards page has its own uh her own like Wikipedia entry just for all
Yeah,
of them,
that it had
which
its.
says a lot.
Yes, it she was getting. That's where I kind of went to research some of the music awards stuff, because there was so much stuff showing up that I had to like have it condensed for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, and she picked up a popularity award at Golden Disc in 2008. So she
God,
was
that's just one
certainly
year into Sony Shade then, right?
yeah, she was doing I pretty early on.
Yeah.
Um so I'm trying to see. So she was running, yeah, she was picking up like lots of digital Bond things. That was her,
So
that
Daysings
was
are
like
like the
her specialty.
big awards, if I
Yeah, they're
remember
saying it's
correctly,
like
right?
is the big award, yeah. She got a best female artist in 2015 at Mama, so that would have been a
That would have
that's a
been
big thing.
that got her that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rightfully so. I feel
Um
like, as if you talk about a debut, like like you're just right from the gate hitting it, like.
she also got some awards for her radio show that she did initially with Kang In from Super Junior and then by herself, which was Kang In and Taeyeon's Chin Chin Radio. It was apparently very popular back in like 2009. So it's just another facet of her of her personality that she was able to go
Yeah,
into a radio show.
as I'm reading a lot of this stuff, I'm like, God, like the busy schedule is insane in these like early days of her working, because it's like you just see in the same year so many stats for like these different appearances showing up.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did you conclude all of this in a single calendar year?
Yeah. She also got a day sang at the Seoul Music Awards in 2020 for Four Seasons.
Okay, yeah, and that would be What Do I Call You, fourth mini album released as well in that same year.
Yeah.
She had a double release. Purpose repackage album came out in 2020 in January, and December 15th would have had What Do I Call You. We let's move in order and we can talk about that coming up to it. I guess, yeah, to conclude 2017, if you want to remind me what was in the Christmas Winter is Coming special album, I spent a lot of time listening to the first full length album.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think I've ever listened to the whole of the Christmas
Yeah.
album.
For
I
me,
think,
the first full length album
yeah,
was like the main thing.
yeah. Like, no, actually, like nowadays, I absolutely would listen to. I just try to listen to everything. I think around that time, I would not have have put the time into listening to the whole thing. But
I am curious, in 301,000 sales, I would hope the first full length album was the main chunk of that and not the Christmas album release
yeah,
or whatever. Like,
the fun fact that I know about the whole release is that the song that she did for the winter album, this Christmas, it's like a version of herself who's like a younger version of herself is in the music video,
oh, I've seen
and
that. Yeah.
the person who plays the younger version of herself grows up to be none other than Liz from IVE, which is like the fun like fact about it. But yeah, I don't know.
A vocal queen in her own right.
Yeah, birthing one in a way. um, yeah, I don't remember that. I haven't listened to the other thing.
2017, though, if to conclude it, sales wise, is massive chunk
Yeah.
for her there. And as far as I could read through her physical sales, was the biggest physical sale year. I do think this most recent physical sale year concluded might be more, or very close with the stats I have written here. But yeah, to conclude 2017, first full length album comes out, so that's a big thing. That's a full first album, not a mini,
Yeah.
but a real
Yeah.
album. And
Yeah.
if we go now to 2018, she releases something new on June 18th, which would be the
God.
third mini album.
Yeah, that the video for something new. I remember that came out.
So for me personally, from here forward is like the Taeyeon I listen to.
Right,
Like,
right.
this is when I'm thinking of her catalog of music, this is like what I'm listening to, like, from this point on. Which I think might be like the
Yeah.
same for you as well. Just like, this is kind of when she's releasing everything in the style that I'm more into.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something new certainly kind of marked. I'm not a huge fan of the song itself, something new. I'll iterate that. But
Yes.
I think it certainly kind of does mark a bit of a tonal
I forgot
shift.
Lucas has
Oh,
a
she's doing.
feature here in All Night Long.
Yeah. I remember when I was going through and listening to some of her songs before this episode, I like started one of the songs with the one that had Lucas in it.
That would have been a
And he
very
he
baby
starts the
Lucas.
song, it's extremely I was like, oh god. I don't want to hear a man's voice like this right away, even if it is Lucas or not.
That would have been a very baby NCT Lucas, huh? That would 2018.
Uh yeah, he'd been around for a year or two at that
And
point.
then we have epics like Baram Type 3 and One Day and Circus to conclude this mini album.
Yes.
My one while I was driving, very interestingly in going through the whole album, something new instrumental plays at the end, which was kind of a banger, like to drive to, just like
Yeah,
the
I mean the something new is very much like a kind of an SM, like it's all of like the kind of SM people you'd expect except Kenzie
mm,
on that. So like in terms of people who've been influencing SM a lot lately, like Dem Joints is the guy who led the production. He's the one who has the classic incoming
yeah,
signature at
yeah,
the start.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we checked him out. One of his songs out really recently. He did Hush Rush for Cheon, right?
Yeah.
Um, he always has the and now the breakdown as
Yeah,
well.
something in there like stapled
Yeah,
of yeah.
and then and Yu Young Jin is obviously in there, and he's been involved in SM songs since the fucking 90s or something. Um, and Ryan Jun, boo, boo,
No.
boo. Throwing tomatoes.
Tomato. Everyone put your
Yeah,
tomatoes in. So not to gloss over the mini album, but Stay comes out in 2018, and I'm the greatest. You know, Taeyeon just announcing to everyone that she's just reminding everyone. You know.
well, I think there's one that it came out before something new that I think it's worth talking about, which is Lonely. I know it's not her song,
Mm.
but I think it's worth mentioning, I guess. I don't know, maybe just from like a sentimental
Yeah,
point of
I mean
view.
anything she featured in, I consider important. You know, like
Yeah. Um, so obviously, so Lonely is Jonghyun's song. And he wrote it explicitly saying that he wanted to write a song to perform with Taeyeon. Like he said that like this was a song that he had a very particular like he said he like composed it specifically with her in mind. It was like arranged to suit her. I found the quote he said, I wanted to take the aura that she has, where she's a bright and happy person with a sensitive and lonely side as well, and put that in the lyrics. I thought of her while I was writing the lyrics and the melody. I think the song kind of encapsulates, I mean, it encapsulates a lot of what Jonghyun was about. That kind of like very like kind of desperate emotion that you feel, but it's that kind of feeling is something that Taeyeon is so good at expressing as well. Especially think that's why her OSTs pop off so much because she hits those like emotional notes so well.
it's kind of like the best compliment I feel like she could receive is that her voice and like her expression is so good that someone
Yeah,
who's very successful and famous at that point in their own right is like, I this is the voice I need to sing what I want to express. Like, you
yeah,
wrote something and you want to express that, and you're like, I need Taeyeon to express this
yeah.
across. You know, like the
Um,
it's kind of not many singers are like so important like that, where you're like, I've written something and I can't, and I need this emotion to get across. I need Taeyeon. Like, you know,
yeah.
like I
It's almost like calling the A team or something,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? Like, um, they only performed it once together. They performed it on Sketchbook in May 2017. And of course, 7 months later, we lost Jonghyun. So
Yeah.
it's like it certainly is a pertinent thing. that I think is worth mentioning.
Absolutely. And then I stay would have been after that, I believe, and then
Yes.
I'm the greatest. Yes, you are. And then, but this year had page zero as well with Mellowmance.
Yes, I remember this one. Yes.
So it's a decent like Taeyeon's busy. In
She she get
2018 is yeah.
she got about yeah yeah
2018 actually going through was one of her busiest, just in general, overall, going through the years. Like a lot of things featuring a mini album, an individual release with a B-side, and then Mellowmance featuring with Jonghyun. There's just there's so much stuff
yeah
going through.
yeah. I mean, you don't get to do what she does if you're not prolific, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to do a lot of stuff.
I guess to conclude that, what I just said there, 2019 is an even busier year.
Yes.
So if I start 2019 now, she comes out with Purpose, the second mini album. It says on
Hmm.
October 28th, but she also has Four Seasons. She also has Hotel de Luna. I do monthly project, which we're gonna have your kind of when we get to our
Uh-huh.
Spotify list. 2019 is just like
She has
someone grabbed her
her Japanese
calendar.
debut.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like someone grabbed her calendar and was like, "You're not gonna have anything that's like a vacation this year."
Yeah,
Like
and
it's like
wasn't 2019 when we had OGG as well?
possibly I
No,
can.
they didn't do any promotions for that, but she still had to fucking record it.
So like, Voice was out with all these tracks on it, and Four Seasons for me is like the one from that year.
No, that's
That's
the vocal coach.
what.
You said it's the one. That's the vocal
Oh,
coach.
oh, oh, god damn
Hey,
it.
come on,
That's
come on
good. It's
now.
good. It's good. It's good. We should start with the second mini album, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of because I was about to go into like my whole spiel about how good Four Seasons is, but you could talk about the second mini album a bit if you want.
Wait, so the second mini album is
It would
what?
be Purpose.
Purpose is a full album though.
Oh, it's the second album. I had it. Oh, you're right. I have it written as second full album. I'm a dumbass. Okay.
I mean, I'll talk about Purpose as
Well,
much as
yeah,
I like, but yeah,
we have
if
Spark,
that's what we're talking about.
and like it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, Purpose is just like I think it's probably still my favorite Taeyeon album. It's tough, I think, but like between this
We'll
one and
talk
I
about that
Envy
when we
You,
get to
yeah,
the Spotify playlist.
but
It
but
is
I
close, but
but I think the variety that we have here on this album is like what really makes it stand out, I think, because like we have like the I mean, that I was always a huge shooter for Spark, which was the title, right? And that was actually something that ended up leading to us getting like closer together to the point of eventually ending up doing this podcast together, right? Because I remember at some point I recommended that you listen to it.
yeah,
I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't even remember the context. I think it was like maybe when you first started doing the lives when you used to stream
probably on
on YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, and Spark was like a big
It had come out around
video
that
like Taeyeon
time.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And I didn't I never I wasn't like pushy about it. I remember just like saying, and then like a while later, you and Goran like dropped the video for it, and then just thought you were like, I'm sorry, but here it is, like for reaction. I was like, why are you making it out like it's a big thing on me? Like I wasn't pushing that hard, like, but
you were just every
yeah,
day emailing me about.
yeah, I was just fucking all up in your shit about it. But I remember I was especially touched by that. But I mean, yeah, Spark was such a rough like that whole time period I think was really hard because like I remember like seeing how Taeyeon had been affected by everything, like with Jonghyun and with Sully and everything, and the way that she was, she didn't look like she was in a good way at the time. Like she was like really, you could tell she was really underweight. And like just everyone said that she doesn't do anything. She just stays at home all day and like not in a good way. It's always been a thing like, oh, Taylor's a homebody. She's like going out and stuff. Cool,
Yeah.
I get that. Um, but it sounded like she was really not. She was really going through it. People said that she was drinking a lot, and just yeah, it didn't sound like it was going well. And especially around that time that we lost so many people like so close together. I was thinking, I kept, there was a period where I was still in the UK and I would wake up and check my phone expecting to see like horrible news. And like, I'd always thought that Taeyeon was one of the people I was most, concerned about. Um, and Spark came out and like, it felt like it was a bit of a moment for her to kind of express an overcoming of her, of some of those negative feelings and stuff that she'd had. Um, but then it was like, I think it was like around that time is when, like before she was about to start promoting it, is when we lost Sully, and it was like, oh no, and then she cancelled all of her promotions and stuff for it, and she like didn't do it or something like that. And
Yeah.
it was rough. Like it was a really rough period.
This is during that
Um,
super like rough time of everything happening like that in K-pop.
yeah. Um, and her, yeah, the fact that she was going through it and then had that album come out in such like and it be so good. It was very like yeah, it came out at a very conflicting time for me. I think that's probably why it has a bit of a strong resonance with me.
It has an impact. Yeah.
Yeah,
The it's a real full length album because like it's 10 songs.
yeah.
So
You get to the deluxe one, and then
yeah,
it adds Four Seasons and Blue to it,
and
which just yeah.
Spark for me was a big one for Taeyeon because like we talk about the singer songwriter gap in those first 3 years and kind of more of a laid back Taeyeon like sitting there with like acoustic stuff happening and singing. Spark is like idol Taeyeon, like like I'm
Yeah,
dancing and I'm an idol and like a really upbeat moving song, like
yeah.
it's like it's interesting how different she can hit like that.
Yeah, I think and that was the thing. Like, it was so good to see her dancing again in the video and stuff. And it's such a shame we never really got the stages and stuff of it that we were hoping to see.
Yeah, to
But
not move on too quickly from that album, like there's a lot of different color to it.
yes,
Like it's not like you would hear Spark and you maybe wouldn't think the rest of the album was gonna sound like it does. Like
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, and that can be like a failing of an album sometimes, that it doesn't, if it lacks cohesion, and like it just kind of feels like a bit of a hodgepodge of different styles and stuff. But
yeah,
I really think for this one it works because it feels like it's just taking like each aspect of her personality and projecting it in different ways. And I think that I wouldn't say that the album necessarily flows, but it does just kind of, it takes you to like, it's like, the way I think of it is like, if you're on a bus or a train, and you start off in like the countryside, and then you go through different like towns, and then you finish off in the big city. It's like you're getting a different stop each time with a different like flavor and a different environment,
yeah,
and that I think it works really well for it. And I think I hope that they put a lot of thought into the order of the tracks on this album, because it does kind of work that way, like ending with City Love, which is like, you're in the city, and then
yeah.
Gravity at the end as well. Um, yeah, it's tied together nicely, I think. And then once you get the deluxe version, it's kind of like, okay, here's just a bunch of extra songs that kind of ruin the flow of it, but it
Yeah,
does,
yeah.
but they're good songs individually.
It's an album that works because it's Taeyeon, I feel like, because she can
Yeah.
pull those differences off. Whereas, like, some artists, I feel like if they tried to be so many different expressions of style in one album, they're not as strong in expressing different styles, so they would
Yeah,
be really bad, maybe even
yeah.
sometimes. But
And I feel like this is an album that Taeyeon could not have done earlier in her career. You know,
mm.
like I mean, it's not just strictly about this album, but something that a quote that I remember hearing about Taeyeon in general is that she sings like a woman who's been through 3 divorces. And
Yeah,
I think like having the the life experiences that she'd had, both positive and negative, um, allow her to channel or tap into like those different feelings. Once she had like a stronger control over them and stuff, like it leads to her music doing
I
doing
think
better.
that's what I meant from like something new forward, was that there's like this kind of presence and strength that she kind
Mm.
of presents from that point forward in her style. It's like this confidence level she suddenly like has compared to the first like three, like yeah.
It is like a confident. It's like the first ones have a sense of like vulnerability to
Mm.
them, and then after something new, she beats up a bunch of dudes,
Exactly.
and then suddenly she's like, "I'm a new woman.
Yeah.
I'm strong now." And even when she's singing stuff that is like emotionally vulnerable or like, like mournful ballads or whatever, like it's still done with that kind of underlying like strength, as you said. I think the double song release on Four Seasons, like Four Seasons and Blue, certainly like very mellow
Yeah.
for her, but still with that kind of
There's just such
strength
a
to it.
style to it, like the "I gave you the one." Like there's just she's so nonchalantly doing it as though she's just like sitting there, just like like it somehow it works because
It
I
does,
don't feel
yeah.
like I would always enjoy what that song is if it wasn't for the fact that it's like Taeyeon pulling it off how she does, like if maybe another artist does that song and I'm like wishy-washy or something, but it's Taeyeon, so it just works. As
Yeah.
Todd Howard would say, it just
That's Todd
works.
Howard would say.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
thank God he's not anything to do with these albums, or we'd get a buggy mess. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just? Do we have Bethesda fanboys that'll
Wow.
happen here?
Can't believe you're
I
taking it. I
have
can't believe you're taking
put more
shots at
hours in
Bethesda.
Fallout than anyone who can come in these comments and attack me. Okay.
Uh-huh.
God, there's so much in this year. like, it's like I said, it's one of the busiest that I could find because you have a full album, you have Four Seasons, but you have I made notes, and more than even just the full album, you have Hotel de Luna comes out,
Yeah.
and Taeyeon just decides, all right, in what is an absolutely incredible drama, I'm gonna drop like an even more incredible OST to go over the top of it. And having watched this like entire show, when that little piano riff hits and then her voice comes in,
Yeah. It's it's like inseparable. I can't think of House of the Lunar. And House of the Lunar is a great show. Like
yes.
I think that's always one of my, if not my favorite K drama. I'm not a huge K drama person. I've not seen that many, but I remember watching House of the Lunar and thinking, oh, this is actually a great show. Like I'm thoroughly enjoying every aspect of this. Not just that I'm an IU fanboy or that
Yes.
my boy Po is in it. But yeah, but yeah, it's like so many, especially later on, right, when the love storyline was really kind of blossoming. It's like every scene between them, you'd hear it
at the
kicking
tree,
in.
like every time they have that interaction
Yeah,
at the tree, and that
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that
Every
piano riff
time.
just kicks in, and I'm like, oh my god, it's about to
And like
hit.
you would almost
Like,
get like some K dramas. I feel like when the OSTs don't pop that hard, when one of them is getting overplayed, you're kind of like, oh, this fucking song again. And but with that one, you're just like, oh, it's Taeyeon again. And you're like, you hear that again, you're like, oh, really? Again, we're playing it again because you hear it like 3 or 4 times in an episode
yeah, you
sometimes.
do, but it always hits.
But every time you're like, yeah, then okay, fine, it's Taeyeon's voice. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
yeah.
Taeyeon's voice and IU's face in that became inseparable to me. I saw like IU's face images of her from that, and instantly that song clicks like in your head. Like
It's not a bad combination. Yeah, like
no.
no, if I see like a picture of IU as Jangman Wall, like I just hear I hear Taeyeon in my head, like
Yeah.
and there were a bunch of great OSTs in that, but that was the one that really stood the test of time, right? To the point that people are singing it like on the shows and stuff like years after the drama's release, which is again, you have to have a really big OST for that to be true.
It has some of her like catchiest melody like lines I've ever heard her sing, and like the kind of roll she does like before the it's like a pre-chorus part or the end of the verse when she has the da na 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 na, you know, da na 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 na, like holding all those like little, and she has the perfect roll she does at the end of it and stuff too. It's just, it's one of her most impactful like songs to me. Just the way she sings it, like
Yeah.
stylistically.
So it was actually her first OST for 3 years after when she released it. The previous one that she did was Scarlet Heart Rio, which is another IU drama. So clearly, I mean, Taeyeon and IU are known as to be good friends, right? So it's funny that, that she just did it for both. Maybe there was like an IU calling up Taeyeon, being like, "Hey, I need a banger." Yeah.
So to also in 2019 we have well, we could talk more about the one from this year that's like one of your favorites when we get to the Spotify part of it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because we also had Voice released around that time, and that has like
that's a Japanese debut.
Yes, and it has 6 songs on it, like
yeah, like all I think all original songs.
Horizon, right? And like Signal are from memory are ones I remember, like the but like I feel like a lot of artists will be like, I'm gonna have a Japanese kind of like thing going on, and they'll just be like, here's one song or something.
Well,
you know, like
here's a bunch of Japanese versions of my existing songs.
Yes,
like, but yeah, all to do all originals like is what a bold choice. I can't listen to a lot of Japanese releases in on Spotify in Korea. They're blocked.
Oh, that's interesting. Because you have to do it on like a different app.
Well, because Korea and Japan have some frosty relationships when it comes to sharing music, and other things. So yeah, I hadn't refreshed myself on these ones. I do remember enjoying them when they came out, and just being like, yeah, this is another fucking solid release. like, I think I don't know. There's maybe an element of I think that just the cadence that Korean has that Japanese doesn't quite have in the same way, I think lends itself more favorably to Taeyeon. That, and I don't actually know how comfortably she speaks Japanese.
Yeah, I feel like comfort in your language when singing is a really big thing.
Yeah,
obviously
she's never done like an English song either, so I'm always kind of curious.
She throws English a decent amount in certain tracks.
Yeah.
And she has a really good pronunciation of it. I think a lot of that probably lends to Tiffany being such a close friend of hers over the years.
She certainly learned how to swear.
Yeah. There's so many funny clips of like her and Tiffany just like, and Taeyeon using English in a really like over the top way. There's one where like Yuri is sitting in a chair and she's like, yeah, what are you gonna do, Yuri? Or like talking like she doesn't know how to speak Korean and English or something. Like, it's really interesting, like when she mocks someone in kind of English.
Yeah,
a lot of F-word Taeyeon compilation.
She swears a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to find one where Tiffany seemed to be trying to like stop her during a Sonia Shade performance.
Keeps dropping F-bombs on stage. Yeah, it's so good.
It was pretty great. So 2019, crazy schedule for Taeyeon, and then 2020 starts with very early January 15th. She repackages the Purpose album with like more things. Is what it looked like. So we don't really need to talk about that too much. We can kind of move on from that because we really talked about Purpose. The repackage is just like kind of obviously we've seen
they added 4 seasons. They added Blue, and then it was DME was the title, but that didn't.
Yeah.
do so well.
Um, December 15th, so much later, in 2020, we get What Do I Call You, the fourth mini album.
Wow, that was in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more recent.
This is like when we talk about like kind of that confidence level of Taeyeon, and she's just got like kind of this attitude to how she is in the music videos and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like around this time she's just very comfortable as the artist Taeyeon, like, so it just has a certain comfort level to it, I guess I would say.
Yeah. I remember this
It's
was
also
like
short hair Taeyeon around some of these times,
yeah.
so I'm kind of like
I remember this because she was like she released Happy, right? Like
I can
Happy was
confirm that for you. I have it all like in notes here. I think so.
Happy was like an accompanying
Yes, Happy would
single.
have been. It looks like the earlier thing that occurred in 2020.
Yeah.
Happy, we had her doing a television soundtrack for something with I can't recognize it. It's in Hangul. She had Girls Speak Out
Oh yeah,
with Chen Mina.
yeah, that's the that's her second Japanese
Yeah.
album.
I
Yeah, that Shamina song is pretty good actually.
that's out of the Japanese like stuff that we were
The
checking
one I
out.
remember.
That's
The one
the
that's
one I
most
remember.
memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The video was good for that one too.
Yeah, yeah. But I remember because it was like her dad died
Uh
as she was gonna release that. I think it was like around that exact time, and it's like, bro, like she could not catch a break. Like it was like almost yeah, he died on March 8th, and she released Happy like a week or two later.
yeah, these years are probably the most painful like in her life.
Oh,
These
bro,
last couple,
I can't imagine.
and then
And that
yeah.
and having to do a song called Happy,
Mhm.
like right at that moment is just like unreal. Um,
Music
it's
seems to be very
yeah,
cathartic for Taeyeon though, because she seems to just be like during painful times, as far as I can tell, she seems to like schedule herself to be busy in what she's doing,
yeah,
in a sense, to like escape. Maybe I'm not gonna describe her own emotion for her. I don't know if that's true, but she does seem to not stop working. Like it's like
yeah. It probably helps in a way, right?
it
To
does,
just
yeah,
keep doing stuff.
for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, it's rough.
I what do I call you though out of all of those? Because Happy was good. It's not one of my favorites of hers personally.
Mm.
Um, you know me. I like the depressing side of things. But no, like I think if we look at everything from that time, what do I call you was a really memorable one for me.
Yes, yeah,
It's one of my favorite releases from her personally. So there is a bit of bias there, especially the image having like her with like a short little like beret and short hair definitely is like a very memorable
you do like
Taeyeon
berets and short.
moment for me.
Yeah, I think that instrumental I remember just being like, oh yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I really like, the
You
kind of
know that
darker, yeah,
da 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 da. You know, like that line kind of in that song is one of her like biggest hooks for me.
she the way that that obviously it's not we give her a lot of credit, and obviously she delivers it, but the songwriters certainly deserve a lot of credit as well, because they've consistently found melodies that suit her so well that then when she delivers them they end up being like so memorable.
Yeah, because the
It's yeah,
start of that is like almost talking, singing, like
yeah,
she's like rolling into truly displaying her voice in the
yeah,
pre-chorus. Yeah, the pre-chorus, if anything, has like the most vocal
the most singing.
technique to it. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
versus the chorus, like, what do I call you? Da, na, na, na. You know, like that's more of just a catchy kind of like I'm singing, but not over the top, kind of, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I think yeah, again it just kind of mark a bit of another it's certainly a contrast, right, with Happy, because Happy is like it's happy, but
Yeah.
it's happy with like a kind of underlying kind of melancholia to it. It's not dissimilar to like the kind of feeling that we talked about in like Sunmi song, but because
No, yeah,
like
it's
which
different
way
because Sunmi can make you depressed in a happy song
yeah
somehow.
like the way Taeyeon is singing in Habit, she's la, 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 like it's kind of like she doesn't really feel it, you know, which
Yeah.
it would make sense given the context. I feel like that's actually kind of what was then intended with the song.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do I call you? So again, it doesn't really marks like a shift into her like darker side because I feel like that kind of carries on through the rest of what she's done up until now, really.
Mm.
Including what she did, like because she did that song with Key, right? Hate that. So
Yes, she did. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that had a similar kind of vibe to
Okay,
it.
so funny thing with that. I remember when that came out. There is Sunmi comments like into the clip of Taeyeon posting it. Could hate that, and Sunmi puts "I love that" or whatever like in the comments. I remember. I
Nice.
just remember like very early to that being posted on Instagram or whatever, seeing Sunmi do that, and just like one of those things that, but the interaction between the two of them.
Yeah, I think the song you were thinking of as well was the one with Crush, by the way, in 2020, kind of around that time in between.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Sorry, we kind of glossed over sales of the last two, which was like 2018 was the least, which was something new. That was like 73,000 physicals, and then
Hmm.
huge jump back in 2019 with Purpose, which was 193,000. And if we go back into where we started now with 2020, it's 164,000
Mm.
with the physicals. So 2019's Purpose was really did really good.
Yeah, deservedly so.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Uh,
a great album.
yeah, and yeah, a good time. Um, yeah, I guess we should also talk about her, one of her more famous, like, so it's an OST technically, right? But it's certainly a song which itself is very famous, but then Taeyeon's version of it, of course, exists, right? Which is her version of the hit Frozen OST Into the
That's
Unknown,
right. Oh, have we
which
forgotten the most important facts? Yes, these are
well,
the.
yeah, these are the real ones. I don't know. I feel like everyone knows that Taeyeon did Into the Unknown for Korea,
Yeah,
but I don't know. But yeah, if you
she.
ever watch the Korean dub of Frozen 2, uh, you'll hear. I think you hear like the Menzel version in like if you watch just the movie and then at the credits you hear Taeyeon's version. I think I haven't sat and watched the Korean dub of Frozen. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that's how it happens. But she actively like performed it. She like I did like shows and stuff. She was on like the Disney like just like Disney YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it's certainly I remember seeing people like locals being like, "Yo, who's this? This girl can sing!" Like, and giving Taeyeon a good amount of exposure. And I hope getting her some additional international fans, even from people who are not like pre-existing K-pop fans and stuff.
There's the great video of her in the studio just like singing.
Yeah.
But also because so she didn't get into the voice acting just yet for that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the most important thing we're forgetting here?
That she is the voice of Gru's eldest daughter in both Despicable Me 1 and 2 in the Korean dub version.
Yes. Taeyeon acting voice king.
I do wonder. I really do wonder how the process of that went. Like,
Yeah.
did someone did her like agent or whatever in SM just get a call from someone being like, "Hey, we need voice actors. Do you have anyone?" Or would they like, "I want Taeyeon," and then do they go to her and be like, "Hey, do you want to be in like a fucking Pixar movie?" I guess like, why would you say no, right? Like
Yeah.
you would say
It is
no
a
to
weird
that.
thing to imagine how it became a thing, and like Taeyeon's schedule always seems so busy with music, like just like schedule wise, when
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, voice act like in this Pixar movie.
I mean, knowing Taylor, she probably would rather have been a minion, but it's still yeah, it's still interesting to think about, like
Yeah.
something that has like a cultural impact, that and Taeyon's voice is attached to it again in some way.
Well, if we're moving to 2021, we have something which the teaser images for Weekend were still very memorable. Pink-haired Taeyeon with like it's like kind of like a do-rag she wears in one of the first images that I remember
yeah, I remember. It's sort of kind of headscarf,
yeah. I just remember that being the first thing I thought, like the first teaser image, like kind of having to do a double take. Like, wait a minute, it's kind of that Y2K thing she's doing with visually at the time.
And it was a very retro style song, a very retro-y comeback, right?
Yes.
Like, I remember that. I vaguely remember the video. Like, there was a big plane. There was lots of pink.
Yeah, and this was like July of 2021 when we got this, and it's very upbeat summer kind of like feel to it, The video is one of my favorites of hers because it's so much going on, like and it's a side of Taeyeon that I feel like you don't get in all her other like solo releases. And this kind definitely. Of like, this is actually like one of the few times where it truly is like cheerful from her. I feel like kind of like super happy, cheerful, like upbeats on doing, it's got like
yeah. I remember as I came into Korea in August of 2021, so like just after that song came out, and it was like inescapable. Like I'd be walking in the streets, and I think it coincided with like my own increase in mood from having escaped the desolate hellhole of England. But I'm just like walking along the street at like late summer in Korea where the weather's really nice and stuff, and like all the stores were playing Weekend by Taeyeon. It was just like okay, and so I heard that song a shit ton, and it was just like this is very much, it's the kind of style that I really like as well. Obviously it's like a synthy type of retro tune, but just the kind of just very innocent sort of good, just carefree vibe is very appealing.
Yeah,
and then she also raps in it.
Yeah,
kind of.
Like talk rap, almost that like if we talk about like when Irene raps and things like that.
Yeah.
The imagery of it will always be inescapable for me. Like Pink-haired Taeyeon was truly like such a era for her that is like memorable for me. Maybe that's why I like pink-haired idols so much. I don't know.
I think
it was before. It was before. Yeah, but Taeyeon's truly like one of the top tiers of pink hairdom when we talk about like idols who've done that concept. Yeah. But the whole like it was such a pink concept in general. Like the imagery of it.
It was very pink. My visual memory of it is just pink.
Yeah, and there was like the pink Apple computer, the giant globe one they used to have like back in those days.
I remember
the Y2K, like everything that it had for that.
She basically paved the way for new jeans.
That's, I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. Kind of the only other thing, interestingly, that I found at that time was she did Jirisan original television soundtrack part 8 at the time in 2021 in November. I don't know what that is. I've never actually heard. I didn't hear the song before until I had checked it out. Didn't know about it. Like, but yeah, The Weeknd was like the big thing that she had in that year, and not much else actually happened in 2021.
Yeah, she popped up on some features. She was on that the Key song that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Which was the precursor to Bad Love, obviously, which is a fucking great album.
Yeah. We can have a Key episode and talk about how much we love Key's synthwave, like keeping synthwave alive.
She also popped up on Taemin's album as well.
Okay, so those were things I shouldn't have glossed over. Okay.
Yeah, but
Some big things did happen.
yeah, I mean, those ones weren't necessarily huge. I think the Crush collab that, like, she had like the earlier Crush collab in like 2016 that was like a huge hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's if we start talking about features and stuff, then it gets really long. But
Yeah.
yeah, but she was
Oh,
obviously preparing at the time to release her third full length album,
yeah,
so
yeah.
we can
Which, thank
forgive that she
God,
wasn't doing that much.
because like, oof. Ooh.
Yeah,
you
yeah, what a
wanna
doozy.
you wanna go ahead and move to the head because that's basically what happens
Yeah, I
next.
mean, like like what else can you say about it really, right?
Yeah.
Like you have it behind you.
Yeah. Oh,
um
I have the like deluxe edition that comes with like she has like a perfume thing that keeps a smell of the album a certain way inside of
uh,
it and stuff like
well,
her own
how
smell.
would you describe the smell?
It's like
Taeyeon musk.
it is like a musky berry or something almost. Yeah, like
Okay.
it has a bit of a sweet musky like scent to it. It's interesting. Do you want me to like
So
ship the
so
scent to you?
so when no, I'd like you to describe the album purely in terms of scent.
Well, there is a photo book, but I've never been able to get past the first page because the first
Yeah.
page is like death instantly when you.
I remember when she, I don't know, I think because she released Can't Control Myself as a pre-release to the album, right? Like
Yeah.
that was quite early on in the year, I think. And then um I remember when the first like teaser out pictures started coming out, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like that, the one that's on the album cover. I was just like, What is going on here? Like, what's the concept? Like, what are you gonna do?" Um, and she released a fucking incredible album.
Yeah.
Just like
On
it's
February
yeah
14th of 2022.
yeah it's
Yes,
rarely
INVU third full album comes out. And like you were talking about that pre-release happened and I saw that video and everything first and I was like, "Oh man, this is one of the best
really
Taeyeon
good.
releases.
Yeah
This is awesome." And I was thinking like, "Damn, she's going to have a hard time with the album like beating this or whatever."
yeah. And it's like it's one of those albums that's just really good, like cover to cover. So to me, it's like I don't even have like a standout song necessarily. It's just like I just really enjoy listening to the album.
I've been known to say things that I think are gonna stand true, and then they get defeated within the next month or whatever.
Famously, yeah,
So I said when like Can't Control Myself came out, I was like, oh, this hands down gonna be like my favorite track. And like this
yeah,
video is incredible. Like, how is it gonna be better than this and stuff? And then I envy you dropped Bogotis Taeyeon with like her catchiest like hook and choreography that she's like ever had. You know, and
yeah,
I was just like instantly I was like palm to the face, like of course this comes out, and I'm just like, okay, never mind. This is as good as it gets pretty much when we talk about like Taeyeon. Like
yeah, yeah. I remember that. I think it dropped on the same day as A Pink dropped Dilemma,
mm.
which was another great album, and I just it was another full length album. People were like at the same time, like, "Oh God, what do I listen to first?" And then like, what do I go back to? Because they were both really good. It was yeah, it's a good day. It's about Valentine's Day, so right? February 14th, 2021.
Yes, it was
Happy
February 14th, 2022 that it came
2022,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, yeah. Two absolute bangers of albums coming out the same day.
There's just so much to the title track that's so memorable. The
Mm.
choreography, the whole I can't do it perfectly, but you know that I
Was it
am the like
IND?
yeah, she does it
What's my song?
so smoothly.
IND.
And
Yeah.
I always remember her like using the dancers as a chair in the beginning as well.
It was like the first, it was really really seeing her promoting again, right? It was like she was out here doing stuff and like performing the song a bunch and stuff like that. It was yeah, it's good to see.
The imagery of like bow goddess, silver haired Taeyeon is just like that is just like the imagery of it is incredible. Like
Yeah.
the peak of like her being badass Taeyeon. Like you
Yeah.
know.
There was some archery involved, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I think for both of us, the most memorable moment of the whole album would probably be that high note in
Yeah.
INVU towards the end is just like one of those moments that just hits and you're
It's
waiting
like,
for it,
yeah.
like always.
And, and it's not. I mean, obviously, it's high, but it's like she's descending,
Mm.
right? Honestly, and then she goes climbs back up a little bit, but it's like, yeah, just the vibrato in her voice, like just yeah, the
It's
way that
ethereal.
yeah, the
Like,
way it's just it's so hard to like sum it up, even like if you can like use like really technical terms or whatever. It's just like the way she delivers her notes is so like so unique.
I think the reason it's so good too is it concludes the impact of the song perfectly.
Yeah,
Because if it's not there, you would almost feel like let down by
there's no like
such
climax.
a
It
build. Like, yeah.
yeah, it's a similar kind of thing to the My C high note, right?
Mm.
Like it just it's like the bow that ties the whole like box of the song together.
Yeah, because the build up to it does just kind of have that soft, like, kind of arpeggiated MIDI going on, and she's like, you, like, doing all these little rolls,
Mhm.
leading in very soft rolls, and then
Like teasing
gap,
us.
gap, I won't punch my table again, but gap, and then just like, boom, shoots it in, you know, because you do get that perfect, and it hits, like,
Yeah,
it's got the perfect impact. Overall,
yeah.
like, that whole year INVU was a struggle for me because I had Love Dive and so many of my favorite things come out
Right.
and INVU was just like always in the corner like, hey, I'm over here, like, you
Yeah.
know. Like,
It suffered from like early in the year release syndrome, right? And then it was
yeah.
like Love Dive was like October or whatever, and it was like, oh, I remember this more freshly because I'm still listening to it, whereas I've
If
been a
there's
while. It's slipped out of rotation a bit.
if this is someone's first video they're ever watching us, Love Dive was like something I never stopped shilling for the entire year. So
Yeah.
I went through a moment there. I'm not sure I've ever left it.
No, you
So,
haven't.
it became my identity of
I can assure
K-pop
you.
for like 2022.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, you can see in our in like our top songs of 2022 video, we both talk about IMBU, and it does gets the nod, um,
Yeah.
and deservedly so. But like I say, like I think it's just it's a fantastic song on an excellent album. And really, I can't think of any like weak spot in it, you know.
Mm.
Um, so I guess if she spent 2021 preparing to drop that, then fair enough.
It's my favorite album overall.
Yeah,
It has my favorite style to her, and it concludes kind of like her being so comfortable and confident. I feel like as an artist compared to the other albums, there's just a level to her in this one that's like untouchable feel to her kind of thing, you know,
yeah,
like nothing could phase this Taeyeon. Like, you know, like
yeah.
it's interesting to me.
And it's making me think as well that like now that it's been that long now, it's been like, since she released it, right? Like
Mm.
over a year. Obviously, there was Forever One in between. But I
There
was
was
like,
great
okay,
moments, yeah.
she's got to be cooking something else up now, right? You'd have to imagine.
When you see the consistency of releases, yeah, it's like every year you can expect something
Yeah,
because she doesn't stop. From
yeah,
2015 as a solo artist forward, there's always been something.
yeah.
Something. No, sorry. Now that I have that in my head.
Something new will come
Yeah,
out.
something new always happens.
Yeah,
I really look forward to kind of. I just don't know where she'll go for my NVU. It's such a strong
right.
concept.
Yeah, which yeah, what it's kind of a tricky spot, isn't it? Because like it's do you continue that kind of I mean, it's dark. I wouldn't say it's like super dark, right? But it's certainly like a
No.
darker vibe.
It's dark in the sense, not in a depressing way, but in like a, just like a, I don't know, like a tough kind of darkness to
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah. No, not for Envy for itself, but for Can't Control Myself. That reminded me of how Taylor Swift. I'm going to loop it back to Taylor Swift. Reminds me of how Taylor Swift's music changed. And I will preface this by saying I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. It's just something that always
I know what you
kind of
mean
goes
by
in
the
my mind.
imagery change, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like now she's older and she's like been hurt and she's like a stronger person and because of it, like it kind of gives, and I feel like the kind of start, especially for Can't Control Myself, like musically, that kind of makes me think that that's something that Taylor would do.
Yeah.
But IMVU is like peak Taeyeon.
I mean, I feel like Taeyeon would feel complimented, I'm sure, to be compared with like an artist who's like sold so many albums like Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. It's just always something that makes me.
I know they do have an imagery change like that. Yeah, that I know what you mean, without a doubt. Like Taylor Swift's early stuff was like very country kind of, not even pop artist.
Yeah, not like her very first stuff, but like a little bit. I like her after Red or whatever.
After the goat scream song.
Yes.
Trouble. That's all I remember from Taylor Swift. No, but Taeyeon's 2015 to 2022 have massive shifts of tone and style.
Maybe we'll get Rock Taeyeon.
Oh, dude, don't do that to me. I can't handle it. Dude, I've had short hair Taeyeon and I'm barely surviving that happening right now, dude.
I'm just thinking, like, because we've been in the kind of pop rock trend, right? And I feel like Taeyeon is probably a bit too mature, like, to want to do a pop rock song. So maybe she'll just do like a rock song. I'm thinking like Taeyeon doing like a song similar to like Event Horizon by something like that. I'd be here for it. I'd be very here for it.
Listen, I've shilled a Solgi Evanescence style release for a very long time, but Taeyeon, I will also very gladly accept an Evanescence style release from Taeyeon. Those are two singers who have just the vibe to pull that off.
Can you imagine them doing that where Taeyeon is doing the she's doing that part. Solgi's doing.
The screamo section, there must be something wrong. Just screaming Taeyeon, I would die. I would literally croak in my chair.
That is what Got the Beat should have been, by the way.
yeah, just like full like a rock concept song from them.
Just Taeyeon doing screamo in any kind of any degree with Solgi, while Solgi sings beautifully over the top of it. Like, what's not to love? Something
tells me out of everyone in Girls on Top that like Hyoyeon could do the screamo part.
Yeah, I think it depends how caffeinated she is. I think
she has like it seems like she could pull that vibe off.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. As of now, that is like Taeyeon's music story.
Yeah.
But there's like, I feel like there's so much Girls' Generation history in those years, obviously, that we did not cover, that are huge parts of Taeyeon, but we will do a Sonia Shade episode. Like, we will, but there's just so many things that are separate of Taeyeon and Sonia Shade.
Yeah. I guess we can talk about her dating lives or whatever.
Well, yeah, so if we want to talk about kind of strange things that occurred, there was in 2000, to kind of just have some concluding notes here at the end, there was a 2011, in April 17th, she performed at the Angel Price Music Festival, and a crazy dude basically got on stage in the middle of her performance and just tried to walk off stage with her.
Yeah, I don't know if you watch the footage of it. It's like, it's very strange.
I did, and it's just weird to see kind of like Girls' Generation in like a shock of like what in the hell is happening, and Sunny just kind of snap into this like oh shit,
like, hold on a
Taeyeon's
minute.
in
Yeah,
danger. Like,
I think because a lot of them, they like some of the other members just kind of continue performing the song, right? And I
yeah,
think they initially thought that it was like a staff member who was like, oh hey, you need to like we urgently need to do something. They're like, well, obviously the thing that always told is no matter what, continue the performance, right? Like show must go on and all that.
yeah,
And it was Sunny and Sooyoung who were like, hold up, something is not right. But
yeah.
like the ease with which the guy just walks off, and I said the casual nature of it is what really unsettled me. Like the dude's just kind of like, we're going now. Like it's kind of takes
Yeah,
her
it's
chances.
not
Like, oh,
done
okay,
in like a
like he doesn't
kidnapping,
grab her.
like,
Like
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And they said the comedian Oh Jung Tae, who I guess was like an MC
Mm.
there, was like really helping the stop the
Yes.
guy as well. Like basically grabbed him. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think no one could really fully, because you know it's a bit of a stereotype, but it's like that's the kind of thing that happens in Japan, not the kind of thing that happened in Korea, or like that was the perception.
Yeah, the security thing to me, as someone who's worked as a stagehand many times and at big festivals like Ohana and even festivals that have had like Katy Perry and Foo Fighters, security levels are usually pretty crazy. You have the front layer and you have back layer, and then you have usually quite a bit of stagehands you got to kind of get around to even get to security.
There's so many people.
Yeah.
Whenever you go backstage at any kind of like music show or anything, there's just like you could barely move half the time. There's just so many people milling about, all with jobs to do. They're just, I guess that's probably why like everyone is hyper focused on doing what they need to do, right? Like,
well, I just feel like the security had to be really lax at this because when I've worked festivals or anything, someone getting past the layer of us working first of all would be difficult. Because usually we know who's kind of back there, and then it would just be like, why is this random person just like steamrolling through here or whatever, you know? Right. Like, and there's usually some type of badge that you have to be allowed there, and then there's a like strong dude standing where you need to go between you and the stage. So it's like, I just wonder if like what the security was doing at this moment. For this dude to just chill, roll right up, go right on the stage, grab Taeyeon. When I see the clip, I'm thinking there's got to be so many layers this guy just steamrolled through to get there.
And I thought that was just his plan. He was like, well, I'm just gonna walk on the stage. I'm gonna just take her by the arm and just walk off.
He does just look so unassuming in the clip. Like someone who looks like oh, maybe he's supposed to be here or something.
It looked like he could be staff, right? Like one of their staff or whatever. She's just kind of like, hold up, what's going on? But because she's very small, so she obviously doesn't have the most strength, at least up until something new, and then now she can kill men with.
I feel like modern Taeyeon would like take her shoe off and like stab the dude in the
snap his neck without hesitation.
It is a young Sonia Shide, like 2011 when this occurs.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a weird moment, and certainly had a kind of lasting impact. I think it certainly made people a bit more aware of the.
Yeah, I'd like to think that would never be able to happen in modern security of K-pop. Like,
no,
I would really hope so. Kind of, you could see Taeyeon in the clip doesn't really realize at first
fully register what's going on. Yeah,
like, she's not like yet freaking out or like anything. Like she's just kind of like, what in the hell is happening? Like, you know,
which I guess is your logical reaction, right?
Like,
like,
mid choreo, just like you know, dragged away kind of thing, you know. What's crazy to me when I read the conclusion of it was the guy did not even get charged. And then the police were just kind of like, you know, about it. We're like,
no, he's a bit sad, so you know. It's like, okay,
fair enough. He is a sad person, but Like, I feel like there should have been some sort of like restraining order thrown
Yeah.
onto there or something.
It's one of those things with Korean law. Well, there's no such thing as restraining orders here, I don't think.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
just said certainly
That's
that's part of the reason why
wild in an
yeah,
industry that has an idol concept
yeah.
to
I,
it.
I think if there is, it's like it's a very kind of small thing that it's not that powerful like compared to how you can do them in the US. It's
I
like,
guess was that why it's difficult with like the Nyan Josh thing from before
yeah,
or whatever? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like they can, yeah, and it's why like protesters and stuff can go so close to buildings and stuff. There's no way they can file to just get people to leave an area and stuff like that. It's yeah, especially at that time. Maybe more laws have been passed since. I'm not like a huge expert on the matter, but yeah, I think because he technically didn't like take her into a home or something, it means he didn't actually break a certain law or whatever. Like it's probably some technicality like that that meant that he actually couldn't be charged for that much,
Yeah.
if he was going to be charged at all. But yeah, then it's also that kind of he was just a guy with a mental problem, so he should be lenient and nice.
At least
Yeah.
at least it never
A wild
seemed to
story.
occur again. So fair enough, I suppose, to
Yeah.
how they handled it.
I do wonder what he's doing now.
I did not find that out. There was one more kind of like interesting thing you were going to bring up, right?
Well, yeah. So I mean, there's the classic the dating that happened
Yes.
with Taeyeon and Baekhyun, which is one of to me it's kind of like a bit of a sad a sad story, really, because it was kind of one of the peak moments of like well, I don't know, around that time it was like you did see idols dating, like not like all up in your face and stuff about it, but like it was happening, and like there were fans obviously who hated it and complained, but also like others that just kind of got on with it and didn't seem to mind all that much, especially if they felt like the couple was a good fit. And yeah, like for Taeyeon and Bacon, there were people who did feel that way. They thought they were like a good match for each other, and they thought that they were they would keep together and stuff like that. But then like it lasted about a year, and they ended up breaking up because they said like the usual excuse of like they had their schedules were too busy and they just naturally grew apart and stuff. But there was like this whole thing about at the airport, and like after the announcement and stuff, and just like Taeyeon having to like bow and apologize and cry and stuff to the fans and stuff like that, and people like giving a shit for it and whatnot. And it just it's kind of more of a reflection on the whole the reaction,
the culture around the industry.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
But I feel like that one kind of epitomized that, and you just think about what like a big couple that would have been, like,
yeah, I feel like if that couple happened now, everyone would be like, "Oh my god," Baekhyun and Taeyeon. Like, it's when it happened was such a like kind of big time for EXO.
It was a big time for
both.
Big time for both.
I mean, yeah.
It was 2014 through to 2015. There's some people think that they might have been dating from before that. But yeah, I know. It's just one of those things that sucks. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think Taeyeon has been in any kind of public relationship since.
Right. I mean, after that happens, you'd probably just be like, "Well, I don't want to experience that again."
Well, I mean, it's not like she wanted to. They got revealed by Dispatch in classic fashion.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe she's just gotten better at hiding it, or maybe she literally just hasn't been. I don't surprise it. Wouldn't surprise me if she didn't fancy it really. But there was a brief rumor last year that connected her to Ravi, but there was a bit of confusion about that. But I think they've established that it wasn't true.
Yeah.
So.
I think he worked on like Amazing Saturday with her a little bit or something. Might have been like around that time or something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no dating rumors with me and Taeyeon at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I guess the dating culture thing to me, the most similar one to hers is like Kai, funny enough, EXO member, and Jenny's kind of had a bit of that fervor to it as well.
Well, Kai and Crystal around from FX around the time of the Turn of Bacon was the thing as well. But a lot of people were just kind of like, oh, they look good together, so then it was less of a less of an issue. I don't know. You know how it is.
I guess it's when it's two such iconic popular idols, it causes a friction between these huge fan bases and stuff, like versus one idol being not nearly as famous as the other one or something. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Hopefully that's gone from the industry more in the future. I feel like it's changed a little bit recently.
Yeah, it's definitely changing still slowly.
Like Momo at a very popular moment of her career was dating Hee Chul, I feel like. So it's like, and quite openly.
Well, yeah, but they
not like they're walking hand in hand in public, but I mean openly admitting and stuff to it. And
well, it did still it's negatively affected. Like I've seen, I mean, it doesn't help. Well, it's different because she's Japanese as well. But like, a lot of people have. I've seen comments on stuff that she's done, being like, "Oh, I used to like her until she dated." I mean, partly maybe also because it's Heechul that has an effect as well. But like, you know how it is.
People want them to have like no normal aspects to their life, which is just utterly ridiculous. And anyone who has a problem with it, I feel like doesn't have a relationship with anyone, so they just don't understand.
I think Joy and Crush has probably been the most well received relationship like that has been.
Yes,
like
well received by me included. And
yes, as you drop Joy out from #1 on your top 10 to straight out, never to be seen again. She's out of your melon top 100.
Solgi just started wrecking me around that time. It was pure coincidence.
And nothing ever said about Irene, of course.
No. I think overall that concludes kind of her. There's always more we could find, but overall that kind of concludes early life in her career as a soloist. There's so many interesting facts, but we'd have to make like a 6-hour part 3 series out of it. And I feel like we've condensed what we could. Like
the good news is that it's clear that Taeyeon's career is still very much alive and that she has a lot more to show.
Yes,
and that we'll hopefully, if she's basically shown what I would describe as almost a straight curve of increasing quality of releases, maybe with a few ups and downs, but like generally speaking, I would say it's been a clear kind of progression. So that obviously has very positive things to say about the future. I mean, she I guess she must be thinking like where she wants to be in the future, like where she sees herself. She said multiple times that she doesn't want to get married and stuff like that. She turns 34 in 2 weeks, I think. That's the recording of this.
Still looks like aged like in half the time that other people do,
she's like full vampire. But at some point she must be thinking like what kind of singer do I want to be, like how far is she going to be like an idol and stuff like that. Like I'm sure these questions play on her mind. I'm excited to see like what her next project is. I would really love to see her having a more clear like involvement in her music, because I know that she when she goes to record and she will like listen to the songs, she'll make suggestions, she will choose or like say I don't want this song on the album, I want to have this song on the album or whatever, and then she will like talk about how she wants to do them and stuff like that. But I'd love to see her like actually at least writing lyrics. I'd love to hear words that like come from her own pen. Because to my knowledge, I don't think she's ever like had a released song of her own.
Drops like an entire like self-written album like IU or something.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting.
It's all industrial metal.
Oh my god, dude! I would literally just like have a like heart skip a beat like completely just.
Yeah.
It's kind of like like we were saying, I Envy was so good that my anticipation is like now killing me for what will be next. Like
Yeah.
it can
It's gonna
be
be something. It'll be something this year.
something new.
Something new.
All
Something
right.
newer.
Well, this has been the podcast portion. If you guys see it either as a separate video or extended on the end of the video, we will have our Spotify kind of favorite top fives from both of us of Taeyeon's career. I'm
Yes.
Honan,
I'm Oliver.
and this has been us talking about King Taeyeon.
King Taeyeon.
All right. How's it going, everyone? I'm Honan.
I'm Oliver.
And today we are concluding our King Taeyeon episode by listening to King Taeyeon's 10 epic songs that we have chosen together.
Epic songs, dude.
Yes, epic. Absolutely epic.
Epic.
This is like the start of every top 10 video. We have some absolutely epic things
Some
to show
gnarly
you today.
hits.
So it's 5 picks, me and 5 picks from Oliver, but it's kind of like a collective choice of a list, essentially.
Yeah, because there was inevitably some crossover, so
Yes.
we just, yeah.
We both were just like, yeah, I like that song. Each time that we were putting something in there, essentially.
Yeah.
Kind of nothing more to explain about it. We're gonna do kind of snippets and favorite parts of the song, and then I guess talk about the track just like a little bit and why we like it so much. So we gotta start with Eraser, which this was your pick, I think.
Yes.
Because we mutually picked Spark, like both of us.
Yes.
There's some real like Sonishide feels to like the pre-chorus and chorus of that song to me. Like some of the melody lines with those like real SM like style, you know. The vocal effect on her voice, that's like the first time I can think of like Taeyeon having that much like effect on her.
Yeah,
vocal.
it's like that kind of that loudspeaker effect, right?
Yeah.
Like she was seeing through a loudspeaker. Yeah, I remember, especially when I was going back over some of her songs to make my final decisions for this. This one stood out because it was like it's the kind of style that I really want her to do more of, you know. And when we were talking in the episode about like what kind of music we would like her to sort of explore in the future, I think this kind of style is something I would really like. It's like a kind of mix of like not like rocky, but like a kind of alt rock kind of vibe to it, you know. Yeah. But then also, just like there's some real instrumentation in there, like that bass is very like that walking bass kind of driving the whole thing, and then you've got like that like experimental like I don't even know how to describe that little like burst of noise that you get in the verses, but
well, it's cool because this one, like the pre-chorus builds you and then it hits, because sometimes the pre-chorus builds like that and then you get like a chorus that takes you out of it, but her chorus goes even more into like her doing vocal rolls and everything else through it.
Well, they take the effect on the voice away for the chorus, right? So her voice comes through.
Post-chorus comes out that little drum at the end too, like a bit of a like jazzy kind of big drum style at the end.
It's like cool. It's like little elements of jazz pop to it, I guess. But it's just the kind of song that I feel like is really suited to her.
Yeah, I think you talked about wanting her to do like a Yoonha kind of style
Mm.
last time. And then if you look at the list, it's obvious that we really like the later kind of half of Taeyeon's
Yeah.
music more. I would say it's not that we don't enjoy the first half. It's like the later half is just like more the style we listen to.
Yeah. I guess this song and I Got Love are the ones which are like the oldest ones on here, right? Like
Yeah,
these ones
which those are
20,
still 4 years into her career, I think, or something.
so
Pretty
two,
much
two,
two
these ones are
years.
2 years,
Two
yeah.
years, 2 years. Oh yeah,
2017.
because that's from like the first album that she
Yeah.
has, like full album, right?
First full album, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we have one we mutually both picked
Yeah.
together, which like obviously like it seems like some of the I love ballad style as well, but like Taeyeon when she does upbeat like songs really nails them, I feel like. And it's like the
Oh yeah,
perfect example of that.
for sure.
불어 후후 빨간 불태야 내 마음도 너 같아 타오를 듯 위험한 살포시 널 눌러 덮으려 해봐도 꺼지지 않는 너를 어떻게 해야 하나 열일 줄만 알았던 그 작은 온기 속 뭐를 감추고 있었니
Oh, what happened? What happened?
I don't know.
We got a lag on
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Spotify. Hello? We're starting it over.
Okay.
I need that perfect build.
Yeah, yeah.
불어 후후
I was lost in the source.
내 마음도 너 같아 타오를 듯 위험한 살포시 널 눌러 덮으려 해봐도 꺼지지 않는 너를 어떻게 해야 하나 열일 줄만 알았던 그 작은 온기 속 뭐를 감추고 있었니 내 안에 내가 많아 온 밤이 소란한데 혹시 내 말을
This part,
들었니
right?
이제 타이밍이야
That one piano.
문틀 새벽이야 불티를 깨워 더 타올라라 후후후 꺼지지 않게 불띠 붉은 채 더 크게 번져 후 지금까지 없다고 내 안에 자꾸 작은 불티야 불티야
The post chorus is so good.
Yeah.
불티야 불티야 새벽을 훨훨 날아가 새불티야 불티야 춤추듯 온몸을 살라 새불티야 불티야
way
꺼지지 말고 피어나
Instantly back off of a single piano hit into the verse,
Yeah, yeah.
like a low bass, just dung.
Beautiful.
The way that she's able to do like she doesn't have to use like her power vocals, you know, like there's very few
Yeah.
power vocals used in like that whole first minute there essentially.
Yeah, I was just thinking like it's a great song to show like the importance of like control in your voice. Like you could tell that if she wanted to, she could make that chorus like much louder or more boisterous, but she's like very controlled and reserved with the voice, which then when she's doing the ad libs in the last chorus, it makes it more
Yeah.
impactful.
Because she just gives you like little snippets of how strong her voice is in between how soft she's going, like hoo hoo, and then da
Yeah.
da da in between has
Yeah.
a little more on it, you know, like it's but
Yeah.
you can tell it's there because there's like always that little bit of strength in her vocals. But like
Yeah.
her and IU both kind of do that really well, like hiding a little bit of how strong their voice is, where they'll really softly do a lot of the song and stuff. It's interesting.
I love the almost like gospel element to the post chorus. Like you have
Yeah.
like the sort of the choir in the back, and then just a lot of like stomps and claps and clicks before you actually bring the because it's very minimal instrumentation, right? And then you just bring in some like acoustic guitar and like a one piano note coming in. Like
This is
Yeah.
like one of my favorite music videos of hers as well.
oh yeah.
This is a great
I mean,
one.
and people can watch your you and Corin's reaction to that because you give me the shout out
Yeah.
in it. long before the podcast was a thing.
I acted like you like endlessly berated
I
us to
berated
watch
you, yeah.
it.
It's our song now. When you come to Korea, we'll sing this one in
This is
karaoke.
everybody. This is your song.
And this song is especially fun as well if in the post-chorus you imagine she's saying booty. The booty,
Booty. What does that mean in Korean?
booty means like spark, burning.
Ah, so she's saying the word.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Duh.
Yeah.
Now we have ending credits, which I love this album, and I'm sure the second I play this, I'm gonna be like, oh, like,
think to literally the ending credits of
it's
Queendom.
literally the ending of the album. Okay.
It's the ending of Queendom too.
Oh, now okay, that hit for me even more. Now I know exactly.
We always used to joke like, "Oh, Taeyeon's on the show, and it's got like the brand that she's sponsored by, that she's sponsored doing it, yeah."
Right? Yeah,
and then it has her song as the ending, like.
It was like a big Taeyeon commercial, and I was there for it. I loved every minute of it.
Absolutely.
긴 여운 속에서 멍하니 난 스쳐 지나는 시간을 흘려보내 그 누구도 없는 이 극장 안에 난 계속 남아 자리를 지켰지 수없이 반복한 영화 속에 참 오래 울고 또 울었었지 하지만 덤덤한 나를 보니 이제 완전히 다 끝인 것 같아 기나긴 엔딩에 가슴이 저릿해 흐린 불빛에 널 다시 추억해 난 믿었어 우리가 함께 ending credits ending credits the credits 결국 너 없이 남겨진 내일은 ending credits ending credits
It's definitely that synth that made you love this film so much.
깊은 어둠 속 새겨진 내일은 ending credits 막이 내린 뒤로 비친 내게
I really like that like little bit of like kind of MIDI that's bridging the end of the post chorus to the verse there. That like I don't even know what sound that was, but it's interesting because it's not there in the chorus. So it's like
It's like it's obviously it's like really nice melodies in the verses. I think like just the vocal melody she has are really nice, and then the big drums they bring in, and then that like heavy synth pad. You know, we know I'm a sucker for rich synth textures and stuff.
What's interesting, it sounded like real toms at first, and then once it became fast, you could tell how digital, like it became. It's interesting how they did that, like.
But I think it's just the mood of the song is what I really like. It just, I guess maybe my brain is filling it in automatically because it's called ending credits and it's the last song, but it really does give you that movie score ending credit vibe, and it to me it kind of encapsulates everything about like her music up to that point, and then gives you this sense of optimism going forward. I don't know, it just at the end of the album it did just give me like a strong sense of optimism going forward for her, and that just, I don't know, made me feel nice inside. So I thought, I'll include this one.
The chorus slaps when it comes in with like that, just like perfect amount of MIDI. Like you can do too much, but that's like the right amount coming in. You know, like one really strong effect being used throughout like the chorus. I now that like I hear the song again, like, oh, like I remember. Like I just think I forgot that it's literally called the ending credits.
Yeah.
Now we have, so this one's like, if you remember, like when I watched the music video of this, the pre-release, essentially it was before I Envy You, and I was like, okay, like this has to be like Taeyeon's like best release that she's gonna have like this year and everything. Like this slaps so hard, and having no idea that I Envy You was like right around the corner. Like I was very like, oh dude, this is like one of her best songs ever and stuff, and which it is a great song, but had no idea what was waiting right after this.
Yeah.
기만을 쫓아버린 어른아이 같아 진심이 없는 네 말에 감당하지 못할 감정을 택했잖아 그래 too late 상처를 되돌리기엔 늦어버렸어 미쳤다 해도 뭐 어때 Cause I can't control myself 네 앞에서 모든 게 잘 통제가 안 돼 다 터질 것만 같아 Cause I can't control myself 반복되는 bad days
Oh, when that comes in,
That beat is
drum, dude, is like so perfectly timed. But it's like that, just that small amount of like riff on guitar with her voice, and you get so much like tone from her in this one that you don't always get from her. Those like low vocal fries that she's doing and stuff. Oh.
There's a bit of doubling on her voice, right? Like there's two, at least in some parts of it. There's
yeah,
two
she's
lines.
overdubbing like certain sections of it for sure.
Yeah,
but just like that lower vocal fry you're getting every now and then from her, you don't get that often, I feel like, in the way she's like really, you're hearing it so much because sometimes it's like it's just her voice and this really small amount of like guitar being played there, like so it's like it hits really well.
Yeah, that one is definitely like Taeyeon Swift, but like in a good way. And I like how it's a solid kind of transition from an acoustic song at the start to like a much more electronic one at the end of it, like connected by the electric guitar.
Yeah. Okay, next we have monthly project 2019 May Yoonjonshin, a train to, how do I say that? Chunchun? Like
okay, like the title is scuffed on Spotify obviously, but so Yoon Jong-shin is he's the head of Mystic Story, right? Which is an SM subsidiary. It's the label which has Billy and Lucy and Minsa up until like last month. And he himself is like a really famous older singer who's been about forever, and for years, like he's been doing this. I can't remember when he started, but it must have been in like 2018, 2017 or something. He's been doing a song every month where he's been remaking an older song or making a new song with some singer, or sometimes doing it by himself. And he's done it with all kinds of different people, including Taeyeon, obviously. So this is a remake of, I'm pretty sure this is of his older song. I'll just double check. So it's not like, it's not his song, it's Kim Hyun-chul's song. It's a 1989 song by Kim Hyun-chul.
But it's like a thing where he remakes a bunch of different like kind of classic songs.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's good vibes. I really like it. You'll see why I don't want to spoil it, but
I love a good remake. We know how many times I've listened to Joy say "Anya." So a good remake can be great. Let's see it. Oh. Right from the get-go. That guitar riff, dude.
Yeah.
작전 몸을 부대어 보면 힘들게 올라탄 기차는 어딘 고향이 춘천에
It's like very hard to know, like, if a chorus is gonna, like, you know, like
Something like this, yeah.
Hey, she said 사랑해, right? This makes me want like an entire city pop album from Taeyeon.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, obviously I was gonna pick this because you know how much I love city pop and that kind of style. And it's not something that she's explored all that much. So I would love for her to do more of that kind of style, because I think when she's singing in this kind of style, like her voice really really suits it. Like obviously it helps that the instrumental here slaps so hard. Like
yeah,
you could
that
have
riff
you could have
really
like any
going
singer on
There's
this,
like,
but
yeah.
it is something I'd really like for her to do more. And like when I heard this, I was just like, oh yeah, like yeah.
I'd never heard her sing this like style before, so it was interesting to hear her even doing that style of song, because like her voice is such an like iconic tone, I feel like, and then hearing it over city pop.
Yeah, here it doesn't really have that unique like Taeyeon like her, like the really like the thing you think of when you think of Taeyeon singing. She's much more like, you know, subtle and quiet with it, but it complements the music really well.
You know, she could nail like some real gnarly high notes in some city pop songs.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because sometimes city pop sets it up perfectly to have one long like held note at some point, you know, like that she could absolutely just like murder you with.
Yeah, for sure.
Dang, Taeyeon, you need to make a city pop album now. Like,
yeah,
need that, and a synthwave, like half synthwave, half city pop album.
I mean, feel free to do multiple albums. We're not fussy. Like, we will take multiple ones.
Absolutely. The next one here is kind of one I almost swapped Can't Control Myself in it, but there's just something about this one I like a little bit more because of like the way it starts and everything. It just instantly hooks you in, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right away. And the thing is, I feel like Can't Control Myself and this are actually stylistically a little bit similar from her.
Yeah.
It's like almost, there's just something about, you could almost like both the same. It's just little differences.
사계절이 와 그리고 또 떠나 내 겨울을 주고 또 여름도 주었다 온 세상이던 널 보낼래 정말 너를 사랑했을까 맞아 그땐 한참 서로가 셰익스피어의 연극 같은 마지막이 될 사랑 마주한 듯 둘밖에 안 보였나 봐 다른 것 좀 보고파 I gave you the world 너만이 전부라 내 겨울을 주고 또 여름 차갑던 그 계절에 정말 너를 사랑했을까 내가 너를 사랑했을까
Somehow, like, her tone in that chorus just conveys the most, like, I'm done with, like, any bullshit.
I'm
Like,
done with you and your
yeah,
nonsense.
like, it's such
Yeah.
a nonchalant, just like, I gave you the world. Like, just the way she's singing it, like, it's so perfect.
Yeah,
It's Lee
this
Bailey.
really like captures the like Taeyeon sings like a woman who's been through 3 divorces
Exactly.
kind of vibe. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because it's not melancholy, right? Like it has like I guess a little bit of like melancholia to it, but it's very much kind of like like dismissive.
Yeah, she's like, I've completely moved on from like
Yeah,
any bullshit.
It's not angsty. Like I feel like Can't Control Myself is a bit angsty, right? It's got like a bit of anger to it, but this doesn't have that. It's just kind of like a you're worthless to me,
Yeah.
and you're like I want to be worthless to you. Taeyeon. What do I have to do?
The beginning of it, like, you can't mess up. Like, it's just acoustic, a little tiny bit of piano and her voice instantly hooking you in, and that melody line just starts right away, and it's like, you know, okay, like, I'm in, this is it, like, this is great. Like, the second that melody starts, because it's so good and so catchy right from the start, and it's hard to start a song with a chorus. Like, you can't.
Yeah, true.
You started your chorus theme from the very minute the song started. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's the exact same melody, right? And then just with a lot less. It's like slower and without the instrumentation. Yeah, it's a good point. It's certainly a bold choice, but then it's like, yeah, it keeps you waiting, I guess, for that that same line to come back, right?
It's a lot more dramatic in the beginning how she sings it, and then the chorus has that nonchalant, like, kind of vibe to it. Finally, where she's like, I'm tired of everyone's bullshit. She's just like moved on. It's like so many emotions and changed from start to chorus alone.
Yeah. I remember I used this in one of my classes when I was telling my kids about the seasons. I was teaching them about seasons, and I was like, the song Four Seasons, and I played this and Vivaldi, which I held them both in equal esteem.
The most like timeless violin piece of all time.
I wonder who did the backing vocals with this, because I don't think it's her, right? The one who does that in the back, right? I don't think it's her.
Sure, she's so skilled that I guess she might have changed her inflection of her voice that much. It's hard to say. Like, if I'm playing it, like,
maybe it's her.
It could be her. I hear a little bit of her tone.
A little bit.
It's kind of like something she doesn't normally do very often, I feel like.
And it's like, where do I sign up to be the guy who does the backing vocals for a Taeyeon song?
Where's the we have League of Legends next. I'm just joking.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of funny, like, out of all those like songs that she has, there's just LOL out of nowhere.
LOL,
I feel like a song title like that, you have no idea what you're gonna get. Like, there's I can't think of a sound until you know what the song is already. Seeing that title,
I did a little digging, and I found the CD booklet personnel
of everyone who worked on
vocals directed by Kenzie, background vocals by Taeyeon. So she did do it herself.
She's kind of
interesting.
She did it in such a quick kind of like way that you can hear a little bit of her tone when she's
a little bit, yeah. It was mixed by a guy who goes by the name of Beat Burger.
Hell yeah, dude.
Good job, Beat Burger. You smashed it.
Yeah, his mixes are sick, bro. You said you smashed it. Goddamn, I get the pun. You bastard.
There you go. There it is.
All right, here we go. League of Legends.
Jazz piano.
커피잔 속 얼음이 하나 둘씩 사라지네. 입안 싸늘해질까. 너가 싫진 않은데 왜 이리 어색한 뿐인 공기나 참 깨지지가 않는 걸까. 하하하 없지.
She's laughing, right?
너가 다가와 내 입을 맞춰줄 타이밍을 쥐어주네. 하하하 웃지. 또 하하하 없지. 피식피식 답답한 공기. Time's ticking. 시간 낭비. Come closer to me. I live for you. Come here, come here, come here, come here. I wait for you. Come in, come in, come in. 두문 열려
That
있는데
makes me really wonder.
what you do. 아직도 입에
That chorus really makes me wonder if Taeyeon listens to Nine Inch Nails. I'm not joking. That's like a very
There it is.
Trent Reznor kind of chorus thing to do. That like almost like minimalistic and then like really expands in the post-chorus kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Plus the melody style of it is kind of, if you've listened to really like obscure tracks from Nine Inch Nails, is kind of a melody like style of Trent Reznor's to do that, like with bass like and his voice just kind of softly carrying it like that. It makes me wonder because it is something in that style. Like I wonder if she does listen to something that dark. Like
That would be hilarious. Yeah, this song just fucking smacks. A song called "LOL" has no right being this good.
yeah. That's
I love the because it feels. I think I might be wrong. It sounds like a real contrabass at first. Like it sounds like real double bass, and then it transitions into an electric bass, like an 808, basically. Like it goes super low as well, like super low pitched in the chorus, and then you get that same melody that it starts with. You get that like tiny bit of jazz piano, and it's the same melody with like those MIDI horns.
plugins are so good these days that could
You can't.
yeah, like you
Yeah.
could make someone sound like they're really playing like a perfect kick and stuff, and it
Yeah.
sounds like the real thing now just from a plugin. It's like it's
Yeah.
crazy how good they are. But no, I know what you mean, especially just like yeah, like if like I said, this title of this song would never make me think like I'm about to listen to something that good.
Right.
It's you wouldn't expect it. It is cool like how she does the like mocking laugh perfectly in beat like that, like dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's great.
When she's saying come here, I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Please.
It is. There's something like, God, there's something that tells me she's listened to like really dark, like industrial sides of music with some of the elements in this song that are like, because there's just enough of that little bit of like sound in it that's definitely influenced by some darker like styles from.
So okay, well you've had video calls with Nature, with Signature. Next, we need to get you to have a video call with Taeyeon.
Dude, how does that even happen?
in which you can ask her yourself, hey
If she listens to Nine
Taeyeon,
Inch
what's your
Nails.
favorite Nine Inch Nails? Don't even say, do you listen? What's your favorite Nine Inch Nails album? And see what she says.
Yeah, if I have like 30 seconds, this is the only thing I want to ask Taeyeon.
Yeah.
All right, so now, listen, no one judge me. I loved Hotel de Luna so much, and this was a big part of it. Because this song is just such a perfect, like, ballad. Like, it's so somber, too, but it hits. Like, every scene that hits in Hotel de Luna hits because of this song. Like, there's just
I mean, it helps that 20% of the scenes in Hotel de Luna have this song.
Yeah.
But yeah.
there something about IU's face and this song hitting together at the same time.
What could it be?
Anyways, if you don't know this, I feel like everyone has to know this song, right?
Yeah. A poem called You.
언제부터인지 그대를 보면 운명이라고 느꼈던 걸까 밤하늘의 별이 빛난 것처럼 오랫동안 내 곁에 있어요 그대라는 시가 난 떠오를 때마다 외워두고 싶어 그댈 기억할 수 있게 슬픈 밤이 오면 내가 그대를 지켜줄게 내 마음 들려오나요 잊지 말아요 지나가는 계절 속에 내 마음
that like I think if I wanted to show someone like how beautiful Taeyeon's voice is like the perfect like little snippet there. Just that roll, you know, like the way she does that. There's like a perfect tone to that vibrato. There's like no way. It's like there's no bad quality that you can find, you know, to any of it. It's so good.
It's something about just. It's like that quality that makes someone's voice like a superstar voice, right? Like the thing that made the one go, oh, hey, like this girl's something special. Because like we've heard exceptionally good singers cover this song, right?
Yeah.
Like I think the one that always stands out to me is Sungin, and you are doing it on a music show, right?
Yeah.
And like you know, really really good singers, like especially Sungin, she's on a par with any idol singer out there, like in terms of technique and stuff. But Taeyeon has that like that feeling in it that is just like so hard to just you can't like train someone to do that. You can teach someone all the technique in the world, but you can't get someone to just give it that feeling that she was able to do.
It's the perfect like application of power in her voice. I feel like not every singer can do like how, even though she's singing softly, she's somehow like really getting the note across. And some people when they sing soft are like almost too soft when they're doing a part like that, and she's still hitting you with like just enough of that, like you can tell how much is hidden there, you know, like in her voice, and she's at some point gonna really nail something in there. Like it's just interesting because some singers, if they do that, they'll be way too breathy and stuff singing, and she doesn't have like an over exuberant amount of breathiness in there. It still feels like she's getting her notes across to you, like without being so like soft spoken in it or something.
Yeah,
she doesn't do that like Billie Eilish, like where it's just everything has that same kind of really soft tone, which I like. I'm not talking smack, I'm just saying that's like the difference of like big style difference kind of.
Yeah, it's not like cursive singing or whatever. Yeah.
What the next one? Do I even need to talk about it or give like introduction? I feel like this is like a staple song of like Taeyeon's now.
What's the hand motion? Is it just INVU?
Yeah, I think you did it like except she puts like the U out towards like, or I can't. It's something. I think you pretty much had it, except it's like the U somehow points out, right? Because you did like a pointing someone in the face with the point finger at the. Maybe it is
you.
Yeah, you. Hey, I would gladly be poked out by a Taeyeon like that.
Have your eyes poked out.
Anyone who doesn't know, this is Bow Goddess. That's my name for the song, Bow Goddess Taeyeon. Oh, what happened? Oh, we're good.
Good.
Falling in love 너에게 난 option 시작부터 다른 너와 나 깨지는 heart 빗나간 dimension 익숙하거든 yeah I think I lost my mind but it's my kind of love 아끼지 않고 다 쏟아내고는 주저앉아 문득 어느 순간 지친 내가 보여 애쓰고 있지만 So I can love you even though I do 밀어내봐도 난 너를 못 이겨 날 버리고 날 잃을수록 넌 반짝이 있는 irony So I envy you
All right, we know where I gotta go.
Oh.
Oh, dude, that's like my favorite part of Taeyeon's entire music career is like that snippet of time right there.
It's almost like we built up to that like just now. Like we did all of these like opening minutes of all these songs, and we were talking about like Taeyeon's like muted vocals and how good she is at hiding and stuff. And then at the end we like, oh, and then here she can do that too.
It's not just the high note, right? Like it's
No.
build up to
The
it
build.
is so good. Like
whoever arpeggiated, whoever put that like one arpeggiated line in, it's like 2 bars.
Yeah, it's
like,
up there in like the whole song.
Just a little bit, and then just fill that space with it.
It's like a soft, abrasive MIDI sound too. Like somehow it's perfect.
The I was thinking that this is like the second time we've played this on because we played it for our
for top
songs,
10,
right?
Yeah, for our 2022 top 10s, we had it. Yeah.
But I was thinking about how like submerged all of the sounds are at the start, right? Except her voice. Like you can barely. Obviously, it's there, but it's like the instrumentation is so like subdued, and then it's gradually like more and more gets added and it becomes more and more prominent.
The English lines in this are so catchy and like well done. I think I lost my mind. It's my kind of love. Like it's so like perfectly timed because I feel like she doesn't always include like English lines like that, in some of the tracks, but like that is just like the little snippets of when she does is so perfectly done in this song. And her pronunciation, I think, just from being like such close friends with like Tiffany for so many years and stuff, is like absolutely perfect. Like there's nothing in the pronunciation where I'm like it's really well pronounced, like her English in this track.
It's just a masterfully well constructed song, and it's very like it's like a peak example of like modern SM songwriting. You can really see the kind of experience that's gone into making songs for singers like Taeyeon.
We had like Gasoline from Key around like a similar time, right? I think, which is like, Gasoline, like Metallica's
very different vibe,
Key cover. You give me fuck, give me that. It is the like SM like in 2022 the solo songs had some absolute like bangers that were released. I'm trying to. Do you have a fact you looked up or something?
I don't know. I was just looking to see the difference in terms of the composition and stuff, because like before we're talking about like the SM staples, right, like Kenzie and Youngjin and people like that. And the thing is with SM is that like no matter what, Lisa Man and Youngjin get credited like always, because Youngjin is the sound director, music director. He's just like the all-encompassing, and Lisa Man is always the executive producer. So it can get people can get confused and think that they're making the songs, but that's not always true. But it was actually it was done by Ginny from Full Bloom, and composed by Peter Valovik, Daniel Davidson, Rachel Fern, and Jess Morgan. Bunch of fucking
There's a lot of people included.
English people and Scandinavians.
It's always the Scandinavians.
Daniel Davidson is the one that stood out to me as interesting, because he's a Danish Norwegian guitarist who was in bands like Czeslaw Śpiewka and Jazz Kamikaze, and has appeared as a studio musician for artists like Selena Gomez and Kylie Minogue. Like, what a curious career for this guy.
So that one
cool.
guy in Lee Soo-man, I wonder, like, when they get those credits, if they literally just get like a final listen to the song and go like, okay, yeah, that's good, or something. Like, if that's the extent of like their involvement.
I have to imagine that's what. So, probably Youngsin is probably more involved than that, but and then Lisa Man gives it the final like, okay, the go ahead, you know.
They give him like a pair of golden headphones and
in his like offshore like hidden island where he's hiding from Interpol or whatever. He's like, I like that he's like, not enough kwangya.
Some artists do seem to have like such a respect for him that I imagine if he does say something about their song, they do take it like pretty serious.
Oh, for sure. And it's the same with JYP, right? Like like with Stray Kids, for example, they're making their own songs and stuff, but they give it to JYP for him to approve, and he'll give feedback if he wants to say, you know, and they respect what he says.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, right? Like you don't get to that position unless you know a thing or two. So
for sure.
Yeah.
It is named after him, so it's kind of a big deal. All right. This I don't know if it's the music video and the song together that makes this one like my favorite. It's just Taeyeon has that like, I'm such a like, we talked about it, how over time she kind of curated this I'm so badass vibe to her. Like it is just like over time she became like such a strong like presence. You know, like if she's in the room, it seems like she's just has that presence. And I feel like this song kind of encapsulates, you know, a word that I should be able to say, that about her. Like the video and the song kind of shows that real, like kind of tougher edge, I feel like, to Taeyeon. Let's start it. And for anyone who's never heard this, oof.
If that's not a real drum, I'm suing.
유인은 쉬워 이 밤을 보낼 그 흔한 방법 그러기엔 우린 좀 달라 분명 그러자 밤의 마법이 욕망이 다리 속삭여 괜찮아 honey 어둠이 깊어 비밀을 덮어줄 테니 이끄는 대로 가보고 싶은데 좀 말해봐 why you baby 우주 같은 네 안으로 need you closer 빠져들면 닿던 한숨도 나보긴 나도 취한 그 꿈을 헤맨 너를 헤맨 믿어지니 긴밀히 쌓인 너와 나 서로 이제 close 네 믿어지니
Sorry, I just wanted to hear that beat again. But I like how towards this part she kind of brings those backing, like backing vocals with it, you know? And the little ad libs kind of throughout the outro.
Those syncopated ad libs, yeah.
Oh, dude, whoever made that, like, it's so good. Like, the first time I heard that song and you're so in it and you don't know what that post chorus is gonna be, that just hits so good. And especially the video, she's got, like, I don't know, diamonds being, like, created. Like, she's some sort of, like, diamond kingpin in the video or something. It's like,
Yeah.
it's such a trip.
This is like another Kenzie classic, right? This is what does so well, I think, and it's like why she's been such a staple for SM, right? Like, it's because it's like, on the one hand, it's a pretty, like, structurally, it's pretty normal, right, for a pop song, but then there's enough stuff in it that experiments with, like, just like with composition and stuff that makes it really interesting and stands out, like, and just the choice of instrumental, the choice of sounds that is being used is just so well done. Like, yeah, she knows what she's doing.
So we seem to really like when her and Kenzie collaborate, like,
When
from a
they're
couple
together,
of our
yeah.
choices that are on here. Especially, like, you notice how this song, when she uses her vibrato, has, like, such control to it. Like, I feel like some people, like, use vibrato in a way where they're, like, losing control of their voice in a way or something,
Right?
And she's doing it with such control to it. Like,
Yeah,
like...
that's like the real skill, right? It's like, because for a lot of people, vibrato comes like you can't make it, you don't make it come yourself, it just happens.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. But she's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna put a little vibration in here, like, I'm just gonna do this, no problem, you know.
It's like there's, like, a timed gap in her vibrato too. Like, she's controlled it in that sense, you know, like in the way it hits between the beat or something. Like, whereas, like, so a lot of people, when like, in metal, when you hear vibrato, it's usually only done in, like, very power metal or, like, really kind of, like, Maiden style music where someone's all the time, and where it's really out of control. Kind of like someone's really just letting loose, and there's not, like, that timing of it is perfect. But hers is just so accurate. Like,
Yeah,
it's just that song particularly, she really controls it so well.
I just had a look to see exactly what Taeyeon songs that Kenzie's done, and it's All Night Long, Closer, which is like an old OST, Four Seasons, I Got Love, Lonely Night, Love You Like Crazy, Set Myself on Fire, Spark, Sweet Love, and What Do I Call You?
Oh, that's now what do I call you? Yeah. So she's done, like, 3 in there that are, like, some of my favorites, just like, that of Taeyeon's music. Which...
And this is I didn't add this. Okay, this is wasn't me. On Kenzie's Wikipedia page, it says in 2018 she was in charge of arranging the debut song for girl group Nature.
Somehow you still found a way.
It is literally all connected. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's so connected. Like,
Nature connections find Oliver. Oliver doesn't find nature connections.
Yeah, but obviously she also was responsible for Into the New World. So, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's like sometimes there's, like, because if you think about, like, Elton John's career, and he had, like, I don't know why I'm blanking on the songwriter that worked with him so much, but he was, like, such a big part of Elton John and them together making just, like, iconic hits. Sometimes a singer that's like that, sometimes, like, someone meets up who's that good at songwriting and who's that good of an artist, and when they meet together, like, everything they do is just great. And it seems like everything her and Kenzie do together always hits.
I think it's the thing, and especially in, like, alt music communities, to kind of look down on songwriters or pop singers for having songwriters, and they say, like, oh, you know, it's all just the songwriter, they're the ones who deserve all the credit. Like, the pop singer is just, like, a pretty face that just sings the words and stuff that's put in front of them. But, like, it doesn't work like that, you know. It's a proper collaboration, like, as you said, with Elton and Bernie, right? It's like a proper working relationship that doesn't work if the singer doesn't fully capture what the songwriter has in mind. It's
Yeah.
like saying the same for an actor, right? Like they can learn the lines and deliver them, but if they're not fully in the character, then they're not a good actor. Then it doesn't work, and it looks like crap, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to write the character themselves in order to deliver it well. It doesn't. It's not how it works. It's the same. The same is true for pop music. I think that's why when you have a talented songwriter slash director like Kenzie, and then a talented singer like Taeyeon, the pairing works so well. Because you could imagine that Kenzie could give me a song, and I probably wouldn't wouldn't give it the same, you know.
Imagine she gives the same song to like there's many different artists you could name, and it would not have like the Taeyeon impact.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Taeyeon could perfectly express like what someone wrote emotionally across to you. Like it's that's like when I said like in the chorus of Four Seasons, like so many other singers could screw up kind of like that way that's portrayed, like that chorus, like the style to it, and she perfectly gets it across to you. Like overall, like I feel like this is like a really great 10 songs to show someone Taeyeon, because I feel like between it you get a little bit of everything stylistically from her voice that shows why she's so good. Like,
and I feel like a lot of more like modern K-pop fans maybe have the wrong impression about Taeyeon. I guess maybe up until INVU came out, they maybe had the wrong impression about her and thinking that, oh, she only does like sad songs, or she only does ballads or whatever. And it's like, no, actually, she is. That's where she's at her strongest, is when she's capturing those kinds of emotions, right? But she's able to deliver a lot of different styles as well. And this collection, I think, is a pretty good job of showing that.
I think I at first in her early part of like her music kind of had a bit of a mindset of like, oh, her voice is so good, but I'm not sure like that these are like my style to listen to or whatever. And then just from like we talked about, like it's like kind of 2 years in or whatever, like from there she's just like everything was hitting for me from then forward. Just like it's from the first like full album forward is just like perfectly like everything she's coming out with from that point hits, I feel like.
Yeah,
because if you showed me just or something and then that was like the style of everything, I'm not sure I would be like as majorly like a fan as I am. Like it's the style shifts that she's had over time that are so perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been our kind of listening party, I guess you'd say, to conclude our podcast episode of King Taeyeon.
Yes.
As you can see, she reigns supreme.
Yes.
May her reign be long and just. Is that what you would say?
Sure. That sounds about right.
That sounds about a normal.
Who will last longer, her or King Charles? That only time will tell. Check back in to find the thrilling conclusion to that.
Imagine just in the next couple years, Taeyeon becomes the king of Great Britain.
Yeah, that. I mean, I think that's probably enough. I think I could figure out like exactly who I would need to assassinate in order to make that happen.
I feel like there's a lot of events that have to take place for that to be possible.
There would, but I'm willing to engineer a few things. And our next deep dive, I think we said this before, but we had to kind of jig things around a bit. But our next deep dive artist will be Taemin, right?
Yes.
So we're sticking with SM for another episode. And I was just reminded of this when I was looking at the Kenzie songs, because she also did a bunch of Taemin, obviously, including like Want, and you know. So yes, look forward to that. We're thinking of trying to do that around the time that he comes out of the military, or possibly around the time that SHINee have their comeback. Something there.
Both times would be like perfect to release it. Probably when he gets out of the military would be like a great time to do.
Yeah.
That. All right. Well, this has been our coverage of King Taeyeon. I'm Honan.
I'm Oliver.
Goodbye.